everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show podcast, place about games, friends, getting better. I'm Ben Hansen. Thank you for being here. I'm joined by Janet Garcia.
Hello.
Joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello.
He won't stop talking about this Minecraft movie. And joined by Jeff Markiafava.
You wanted a live reaction.
That's me.
And Haley McLean.
It was a setup. Hi.
Welcome, everybody. You can unlock the extended, unedited version of this at the $10 tier if you want to hear Kyle react like a banshee to the Minecraft movie
How
trailer.
much I love Jared Hess's masterminds.
I've never heard somebody rave about Jared Hess more. On this special episode of the podcast, we are talking about Astro Bot. We're going to be talking about, I wasn't expecting this, we're going to be talking about Concord yet again, everybody, but with a twist. We'll get to all that. Haley, did you want to talk about Flock?
Yeah, I can quickly talk about
Ooh,
Flock.
I love Flock.
Ooh, all right.
Ooh, Janet loves Flock too.
Fantastic. We'll meet the Flockers, right, Jeff? Hell. Then we're going to be talking about Tomba a little bit. Then we're going to be talking about, Kyle, do you want to talk about The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom?
Yes.
Hell yeah. Then back half of the show, we got some great community questions. Yes, Janet?
The show's stacked as hell.
It's Tomba?
I don't know.
We were
I don't
talking
want to get
about
ahead.
this.
Wait. Maybe we shouldn't get ahead of it. I'm sorry. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Well,
That's going to be half the conversation.
Tomba is welcome,
Yeah.
I think. And for everyone tuning in saying, hey, chop podcast, man, where's the Age of Mythology talk? That's going to be next week on the podcast, but mark my words, Age of Mythology Retold is out now, and I'm excited to talk about it in the future. Okay, we should get to this thing. PlayStation sent us codes. We're required to point that out for a game called Astro Bot. We got it, what was it, Kyle, like Thursday or Friday of last week we got these things?
I think it was the moment I lost power is when I got the email. saying, please enjoy Astro Bot. Yeah, I think it was Thursday.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I was going out of town for like a family weekend. I was like, oh my God. I got to play a couple hours of the game before I left. And I was like, it's all I can think about. I love my family dearly, but I just want to be back playing more of Astro Bot. But have we all been playing Astro Bot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't talked about this with anybody, but I rolled credits the other night.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. How far is
Ben, I platinumed it. So.
Yes, Haley. All right. Haley, the floor is yours. What do you think of
good.
Astro Bot on PS5, please?
It is the most fun I've had playing a video game since Super Mario Odyssey.
Yes!
100%.
Yes!
It's
Yes.
so fun.
Mario Odyssey
and
is
I
a great
regularly think
comparison.
about Odyssey when I think about, geez, is that the last time I was happy while I played a game?
Whoa, don't ask that.
2017. And it's such an easy 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
If you want serotonin for 10 hours, play Astro Bot. It's just like joy if that was a video game. It's so fun.
Just clean, fun, smooth, just a series of little moments of, oh, that was really fun. Oh, that was really fun. Oh, that was really fun. I think Mario Odyssey is a great comparison. Like, I think it's the most joyous game I've ever played in my life. Like, it is just nonstop bliss. I am over the damn moon. Like, this was my most anticipated game of the year. It surpassed all of my expectations playing through this thing. I could not be more in love with Astro Bot. Jeffem, you cold-hearted bastard, did you smile playing this game?
It's pure trash, and I hate everything about it. Of course. No, I have been enjoying it. I'm only a couple hours in, but it is certainly, like, I was playing it, I was like, this is the most tactile game I've ever played. Even, like, you can throw board games into that mix, too. It's just like, and, you know, it's like, it's all the tech kind of gimmicks of the DualShock, but it's
Sense.
yes, like you can tell every interaction that you have, or like anything you're doing in the game, someone must have sat there for like hours thinking like, how do I squeeze like every drop of like juice out of this one little dumb, you know, like slingshot animation, or like just making everything, you're just gonna punch a block, like how do I make that feel even better? How is going down this slide going to be even more satisfying? Like all of those just tiny little interactions. And then
it's the fun part of every game ever made. It's just like the fun part from every game in a row, rapid fire, one after the other.
No, I'm totally with you on the controller thing, Jeffem, where, you know, I don't like the speaker on my controller, the haptics. I think, sometimes it's kind of cool, but I'm not thinking about it too much, or I'm not celebrating in a big way. And then playing this, it's like, 4 years into this console, maybe they are onto something, because it is surprisingly quote unquote immersive. Just have everything be this tactile in your hands, even just at the beginning, like genuinely choosing your save file in the beginning with little memory card icons. Like even that rumble feels good, and have everything in this game just feel that great. And just little moments like you're rolling around as a metal ball on like a sea of spikes. It's like, this feels so good. And it's so strange to have a takeaway from a game, like outside of the controls feeling great, but just it feels so good in your hands at the same time.
It physically feels good.
Yeah, it's just a massage.
You have like a little umbrella, like it's not even an ability or anything. Like sometimes it's raining and he pops a little clear umbrella out, and the pitter patter of the rain is so soft on your hands. I was just like holding it like, oh, like this I just want to stand in the rain and feel it in my hands. I felt like a freak.
I actually started licking my screen at a certain point because I just wanted to be with Astro even more so.
I mean, Playroom has this trick too,
Yes.
which ostensibly no other game could really pull off, in that it feels like you're playing with the hardware that you're holding and looking at, right? It feels like you're like inside the PlayStation, and you're literally flying on the controller at the beginning of every level, which I love. I think a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but when they showed him flying, I was like, I don't really want to do Star Fox. Like, I don't want to do that. But it's just like, no, you just do it for like 5 seconds at the start of every level. It's just like a fun little,
and you can speed it up too, and like boost it as you're going in.
But yeah, like just like seeing the controller on screen and holding the controller in your hand, and then like seeing all the PlayStation hardware, like it's the aesthetics also make it just feel better in a weird way. You know, like Mario can't, which is, I think, like the best point of comparison. Like this absolutely stands toe to toe with things like Odyssey and Galaxy and stuff like that, like 100%. But it's like Mario doesn't really like run around on the freaking controller that you're holding in your hand. You know, it's like there's always going to be that little barrier there. Yeah,
thinking a lot about, Mario, you're right. You can't avoid those comparisons. At the same time, playing this, it's like, how often do we get a 3D platformer that's one of the best looking games you've ever seen in your life? And it's like Ratchet and Clank, more of a, third person shooter, I guess platformer, I suppose. But just playing this, there were so many times where I would just like bring the camera in and look at some bots like in your hub space as you're looking at these guys. And it's like, this might be the best looking game I've ever seen.
It's so engrossing looking. Like my partner sat and watched me play the entire game.
Yeah.
And it's like he saw it and he's like, oh, one sec, got a coffee. And every time I played it, he came out to sit down and just watch me play. Like that's how good it looks that someone could just sit there and be like, cool. I'll do 15 hours of this with you and sit here.
Yeah. I found that really surprising too, just because like the game has always looked good, like franchise wise. Like, I've always thought it was really good looking, but I think what really helps it shine is that it's like a little bit more zoomed in for certain spots, but not in a way that ever feels like oppressive to navigating the environment. I think they do a really good job at picking their spots to like highlight the environment like in detail versus the environment holistically for like traversal. And it's honestly, it's like, back to like what y'all mentioned with like the animation work and like the little details with like the integration of the DualSense. It's one of the most, in a complimentary way, overproduced video games I've ever played. Like this feels like you could have stopped making this game. Like, and obviously this is not how development works. It's not like they're going over and over just polishing it. It's like on different parts. It's like made asynchronously, but like it feels like they finished making it years ago. And then they're like, and now we're like filling in the little line. Okay, we're adding this. Like everything has something. I was early in my playthrough, I was just like, I've been taking forever. I'm like a couple hours in, but only like a world in because I'm like really trying to like do everything and like get everywhere. Also, I just got back last night. And so I only had a few hours before sleeping to play.
I feel so bad for you. Yeah.
I'm like a little bit bummed about that, but it's fine. Astro's still ready. But like even just standing on the edge of like a little area, you'll like wobble, animate off the corner as if you're gonna fall. Even if it's like there's grass below you, you still do that. Like he has such like a good personality. I feel like it's because Astro's personality is a cross between like a toddler and a cat. Like he's kind of just like like discovering the world he's very capable, obviously, as a platforming mascot, but it's like he's kind of just discovering the world almost for the first time, and you get to see it through his little robot eyes.
Baby
and
boy.
The world's so much better through his eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, it is ridiculously effective. And talking about people playing or watching you play the game, Haley, like it's not fair. I know I'm not gonna turn into a Kyle Hilliard, I swear, but like my kid like stumbled into the room as I was playing. his face exploded with joy looking at the screen. And like we've kept him away from screens up until this point. And I was like, all right, well, he was just over the moon, and he got to actually like play it a little bit, like jump around as Astro Bot. I was like, I'm so happy this gets to be the first game he ever played. Like I could not.
That's so
You're
cute.
gonna ruin gaming for him.
Yeah, exactly. Everything else
You're
sucks.
starting him too
Like
high.
they don't make them like they used to. you
Yeah.
know?
No, but Janet, you're right. There's something that's just so like rock solid about this game. It feels like I dare you to find a fault in it. Like a handful of minor things, I suppose, but it does just feel like in the world.
I don't like that there are 2 exits to single levels.
Yes. Okay.
None of that. Get that out of here.
The bot requirements, even though I get it's like the whole lore of the game is like the bots, in general, in video game platformers are so notorious for this. So this is optional to get, yes, except you need a certain amount of them. And like, I get it because it's so integrated. I do think they're one of the few that like really justify it, but I do find that to be a little bit, I don't like that in any game when there's optional things to get, but they have like a number you need to progress. Other than that, it's I think my only gripe.
I mean, yeah, it's just the Mario Star system, I suppose. And it's really nice when you replay a level, then you can unlock a little birdie for like 200 coins, which is a pittance.
Yeah,
and the bird like
I
shows you
love
exactly
that.
where all the secrets are. So if you want that extra guide when you're going back and finding the bots, like it becomes a piece of cake, I think. But it is so fun if you want to be thorough as you're going through the game, just to really take your time in each level. Like, okay, let me cruise around and try and understand. And then like discovering some of those early secrets early on where it's like, oh, okay, there's going to be new layers to this game that I didn't know going in and stuff. And
The secrets are balanced to that, like, there's like a lot of easy to find ones, a decent amount of medium style, and only like a handful through the whole game of, okay, how on earth was I supposed to find that one? But
Right.
like, you still want some of those secrets because otherwise everything's too easy.
Yeah.
So it always felt like everything was fair. Like sometimes I wouldn't even use the bird. I just would want to go through the level again to check every corner and look around.
yeah. Were you 100%ing your way through? What was your strategy, Haley? Trying to get as much as
Yeah.
possible?
I was being neurotic. Like I wouldn't move forward unless I like completely finished a planet and then went to the next one, sort of style.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
And I
getting
went back to
there
the
with the-
planet every time to do the I don't know if we want to spoil like certain things, but the machine that you get to get things from.
Oh, just there's a gotcha thing that was like in the last game.
I was
Yeah,
like,
it's fine.
I love that. That was in Playroom. Like it was one of my favorite parts of Playroom. But like, God, I was invested in the gotcha machine. Every time I had 100 coins, I zoomed back to pull that thing.
Because it's so satisfying because in this one, then you're unlocking, pieces of PlayStation's history and all this stuff, but you're collecting all your bots, and it's like 300 total bots, 150 are like PlayStation-themed bots, and then in the gotcha machine, you're getting little items to add to their animations and stuff. Like, okay, for Jack, you can get Daxter in the gotcha machine, or you can get the Hunter from Bloodborne, you can get like their weapons and stuff. And so like now suddenly it's this extra layer of like, oh, it's fun to have all these bots back in your hub base, but then once you bring them to life by going through that gotcha machine, which is just with the in-game coins, it's not like some real money gotcha machine thing. It's so much more fun when they all start popping and they all have these extra animations because you're exploring more and using that gotcha machine, which feels still so damn good to pop in your hands. Like, oh, it's just incredible.
Maybe one of the best like hub worlds, especially in a game like this. I think
Yeah.
it's really easy for stuff to be done. I think, platforming, despite being kind of on like the downturn, especially like 3D in the AAA space, like it has such a storied history of like, well, we do this because it's tradition. It's like how you design. It's like how you implement what the gameplay loop is outside of like general progression. But having your bots come back and then having like the hub world be a genuine world that you get to explore that has like a couple enemies, a couple platforming challenges, a way for them to, even though I'm not the biggest fan of having like a mandate, but at least they are used for something, right? Like, the bots are used they form a little bridge that you can like cross to get to the next area. It's like, okay, there's actually, you probably integrate this in the best way possible, even though I'm like still just like never really a fan of that format, but it's like, at least it kind of makes sense here and it's fit in a holistic way, which I think is really hard to do. And I'm really like, everything in this game, I want to do it because it's meaningful and not just something that like, okay, well, I just get this so that I can like turn my coins in or just have something.
Everything feels
100%.
something else. Yeah. And it's, I don't want to overhype it. Like it's still a pretty simple game, but in terms of like simple 3D platformers and not in terms of challenge level, but just design wise, right? But still, it's just so damn solid throughout this entire thing. But the hub level, I want to talk about that because, yeah, I'm totally with you where like the bots are making change. Basically, it's kind of Pikmin style or Path of the Goddess style, of course, where you're like assigning like, okay, you need 20 to do this, you need 40 to do this. But then it's just so fun to build up this army of little bots, especially the PlayStation theme bots. And instead of just like, oh, you can unlock this area now, having it be like, okay, we're going to make a rope of PlayStation characters, and then you have to climb them to get to the top. It's like, okay, I'm climbing past Joel and Psycho Mantis and using them as like a human ladder to crawl to the top of this. Like, it's just so much fun to see them every time.
My favorite part was the fact that those things, it's almost like a simulation, the base level, because a lot of times when you have those unlocks, it's like press triangle, you need 20, and then you press triangle and then lock unlocks and you can move forward. But this, it's like you say, I need 30 to build a rope, and just like you whistle, and then whoever's closest comes over. Like they don't just auto propagate and like shove the bots over. It's like you could do that 20 times and get like 1,000 different combos of robots. It's just like whoever comes over, and you have to wait. Like sometimes you'll be waiting on one bot and you're like, come on, Joel, and you can see him trying to figure out where he wants to put his hands to help lift up a boulder, and you're like, Joel, and he finally does it. I love that they did that because it makes it feel like you're there with your little buddies and you're like, come on, let's go, everyone, instead of just, you know, check the box, like you press triangle, you go in kind of thing. That was one of my favorite parts. I love that.
And I love with the bots too that like there's a gross way to do it. Like I'm sure there are the cynical people out there, and frankly, I don't want to interact with them. They're like, this is just one big PlayStation commercial, blah, 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 blah. But
it's like the best commercial PlayStation.
Was you here when FGF and E3 were? Whoa.
No, but just an idea of like, it is so tastefully done. I think there's a gross way of doing this of like, hey, here's Parappa the Rapper, and here's the Wikipedia entry for them, and here's a link to the store page so you can buy it on PSN. But like having all these bots pop up, and it's almost like a trivia game because it pops up with just kind of like this cryptic clue. It might give you a little bit of a nudge towards what the game is that these characters are from. But as you're playing it, there's so many words just like, what? There's been
they
like,
never say their name.
No.
They'll say like a vague title that's you're supposed to try to guess who they are also. So it's more like if you love PlayStation, you're home here instead of just Joel Miller TM.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Haley, I don't know, is that legally easier to do to not technically say it's this character? Obviously they need approval no matter what, but
they need approval no matter what. I think it's a creative choice to just say like, let's make it more of if you know, you know. And I think that's why it comes across as cute and like a love letter and not just an ad for every PlayStation game that's ever come out, so to speak.
I've also been encountering characters that I don't necessarily connect
There's so many random
exclusively
ones.
with PlayStation.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a couple where it's like, God, did that even appear on PlayStation? Even like there's some deep cut stuff like, by the way, this game finishes strong, just in case you're curious. And like there's one detail about the ending where I'm like, that is such a non-PlayStation idea, but I love that they're roping it. It's a very small detail. Maybe we can talk about it at some point down the road. Max spoilers for Astro Bot or something. But so the big thing is like there's 80 levels. Some of them are, you know, small kind of micro challenge levels and stuff. But then every galaxy has like a PlayStation themed level in it. And I want to leave a lot of those for surprises. Like in the first trailer, there's a God of War one is what they reveal, right? And so like I think that one's fair game to talk about a little bit. But those, it made me think of like, God, this is so much fun. Just having the galaxy, every galaxy you go to, there's going to be one level that's just going to be all in. Not just like, hey, we have a scan and homage, but like the music is like new music inspired by that game's main theme. We're gonna
gameplay mechanics are the same. Like that's so cool.
Like you're throwing the Leviathan axe and recalling it the same way as Astro Bots are going around and like remixing all the enemies in Astro Bot to look like enemies from these games. It is so damn fun. And like it made me think of the joy that you got from Super Mario Odyssey with the Donkey Kong tribute in that game. If you remember in New Donk City, it's like one of those in every galaxy that you go to. And I love that it's like, I don't want to spoil the ones that are in there, right? But there's not too many of them, and you can probably guess some of them, but I promise you will be surprised. Like a couple of his choices, it's like, hell yeah. You're not just going for PlayStation's biggest franchises. You're truly celebrating the entire history. Like if you had 15 guesses for the themed levels in here, you would not guess some of these. And like, that's all I want. You can go for the big obvious ones, but as long as you have a couple where it's like, ooh, that is such a cool, smart, hip choice, dare I say, for a theme level.
I love that those came after too. It was like, it wasn't like it was a oh, you got to do this in order to finish. It was like, oh, you beat this level. What's this that opened up in the back of the level? It was just like an additional little thing. And so I looked more forward to that every planet or every galaxy I went to than really the boss fight.
Yeah, the music overall is so damn good, believe it or not. I was worried based on the demo. I'm like, okay, it's a lot of old tracks. There's some old tracks, but there's a ton of new stuff. Like the remix songs and stuff in those theme levels, I think are so great. The hub music, where it's like that Wild West theme, is amazing.
It feels like unless I haven't played the whole game, but I'm like only now kind of getting into the new music. I feel like the old stuff is kind of front loaded.
Yeah. I think,
which was like started almost, I love that soundtrack, but it started almost as a disappointment. But now I'm really getting into lots of new stuff. So I'm like, okay, that's good. Thank you.
No, there's definitely plenty of new stuff in there. But you're like, wow, this is kind of our underground theme that we've established in the past. Like, well, you gotta use that again,
I was really having a good time with Star Wars, and I was like, I think I'm gonna finish this. But then Astro Bot just like has
The Star Wars killer.
completely stole my attention. And I don't see myself putting it down until I see credits. And it's also, I probably will go for everything, go for that platinum, not because like I need the trophies, but like there are certain games where it's
you don't
like,
gotta lie to us,
I love having an excuse to play a game more, and I don't want to miss anything. Like there's been a couple levels that I've gone back and replayed just because it's like, well, there was a little section over there that I didn't check out before I finished the level. I don't want to not play anything that's been designed for me to experience in this game. I don't want to miss any of that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm about as far as you are, Kyle, and as I've been playing Outlaws too, that's another reminder of like I have become obsessed this year with just like the time to fun of video games. And like if I'm going to sit down and play a game, and this is one that is just like literally like as soon as you choose your save file, like they are already thinking about that and making every little thing satisfying. It is I've been enjoying Outlaws too, but it's like there are times when I sit down and it's like, what did I accomplish in the past 3 hours? And here it's like, oh, I could read you a laundry list of all the little things that I had fun doing and the progress that I made. And it is stacked in terms of that.
And it's like small ideas that they just know are fun. And this is so specific, so forgive me, but like there's little levers that you can grab and like yank up out of the ground, but they combine those with, you get like one of the abilities lets you like rocket into the sky. And so it's just like a small thing, but like holding on to a little lever and then rocketing up and just like yank and just giving like a strong yank as you're making the level change or hurting enemies by lifting up these little things. Like just that is satisfying, combined with like that rumble in the controller. It's like, God, how do they know that this is going to feel so good to do over and over again?
The ability where you turn to a sponge, which is in the trailer, so I don't feel as bad talking about it.
Yeah.
It's so there's like in that level that you first get that, there's like areas where these little octopus shoot oil at you, and then you turn black with the oil, but it's so like the engine's crazy, so that like if it just hits your arm a little bit, only that will turn black, and you can see like the veins of the black oil seeping up the
it's like Spider-Man 2
sponge, and then when you go into water, it's not like it just disappears. You see the oil seep out, and it turns that rainbow that oil turns in water when it like shouldn't be in water and it's dissipating. That I stood there and I just kept touching the oil and running to the water and like being like wee and like playing with the oil and water for a few minutes before I moved on. Everything is fine-tuned like crazy, like Janet was saying. It's like they took 10 years just to be like, all right, oil people, make that seem cool for spend half a year on that.
I'm sorry you have to have Oil Man on your business card, but trust us, it'll be worth it in the long run. No, I'm with you. And like there's
Oil Man parentheses, not what you think.
But like there's one ability I don't want to spoil, but the concept has been done in other games, but I've never seen it done as well as it is here. And it's like, it's to the level of like, Titanfall's cause and effect and like switching between press square to time travel thing. Like that, you know what I mean? But like, it's to that degree of just like, I guess I've seen this concept, but it just feels so good and smooth in this game. And it's breaking my brain in fun ways for what you can do with this twisting ability that kind of changes how you interact with the world. And I'm leaving it cryptic, but like just constant surprises, constant delight, and then also, hey, if you like PlayStation games throughout its history, here you go. here's your little cookie, keep crawling ahead. Here's another little cookie, just constant. Like, I mentioned it earlier, but just, you go there's a kind of a snow themed level early on. It's like, okay, here's a bunch of Metal Gear Solid stuff. And then here's a UFO that has captured Psycho Mantis and is like flying Psycho Mantis around the levels. You have to track them down. It's like, this is platformer, man. To have that be the carrot at the end of the stick is trying to capture Psycho Mantis who's been abducted by a UFO. Like, it does not get better than this.
Which you're not going to, because then they put balls in the snow and you're just kind of like rolling these paths through the balls, and it's like that UFO is long gone. I'm just like shoveling paths for no reason because it's satisfying.
Yeah.
But you gotta make sure nothing's under there. Is the thing.
It is true.
Which I think they put just enough, just like little enough of that stuff. I think this game is like it's interesting in that I think at its face it is like this visual feast that feels like very heavily packed. But I also think they very smartly had restraint where they needed to, because something like that snow thing could easily become low-key annoying and inadvertently, right? Because it's like you don't have to be a completionist sicko, but like it's also by design that's one of the most fun parts of this game. So I feel like they very intentionally didn't put nothing but snow everywhere. It's just in kind of a couple spots. So it's like, okay, if you want to be obsessive and clean it all up, it still remains fun. Like it doesn't really let the player get in their own way, because they never have too many of a thing that ends up being almost like like a secret red herring, essentially. So it's like if you go up stuff, it's like not that bad. Or like there's a level early on with cranes, and you can like climb up them, and then it reveals like hidden coins. But there's not too many cranes. So it's like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this, even though I think it's literally only coins. But I'm like, well, there's only like 5 of them. So I might as well do that little bit. I think they do a really good job environmentally progressing an area, especially in a 3D space. I feel like I haven't seen something done this well since like Mario 3D World in terms of like 3D design, where it's sort of the ethos of like a 2D level with like the perspective of a 3D level, where it's like we just have these little tiny segments that are patched and kind of chained together. But this is also a game where I'm sort of surprised with how much like this goes beyond, what was it, Playroom? Was that the one that came out on PS5? Astro's Playroom?
Astro's Playroom, yeah.
Yep.
Not to be confused with The Playroom. It's a long story, but yeah.
Exactly. So playing that, I'm like, yeah, this is good. It's cool. I like it a lot, but it's not like a full game, which I know people have debated. Well, it's a game because whatever. I don't really want to get into that, right? But I'm like, okay, cool. It's wild how much I see how much that is a demo compared to this game in terms of even just like without spoiling it, like the abilities that you get and the ways they decided to sort of make them cohesive with like that more backpack formula that they show in the trailers, where it's like the little dog backpack, that kind of thing. And I think they also do a really good job, back to that restraint thing, like they don't let those things overstay their welcome, because I do think there's a world where it's like, does anyone else not care about moving my controller to the right and then hitting R2 and then moving it to the left? And it's like, to be honest, I think that could be a little boring after a while, but they have you do it just little enough that's like, oh yeah, I'm just going up this wall real quick, and then I'm doing something else. And they just keep you moving in a way that I think, looking back on Playroom, it felt like they were throwing a lot of stuff at you, and it was that over and over again. Like every 2 seconds you had like a little gimmick to do, which while it was still very good, it was just kind of, it was like a lot. It was like, oh, enough already. But here they have like the space to have those ideas breathe. I think too, back to the fidelity, like part of what makes the fidelity look so good is remembering that I first played Astro in VR, where things don't look that good, because it's kind of like, oh, I can't really, and I wear glasses. So I'm like, is it me? Is it that I can't see? I'm cleaning the glasses, and then I'm cleaning the PSVR 2 headset, and then I'm like adjusting the focus. And then it's like, literally when you playing VR, when you have glasses, it's like being at a freaking optometrist. What's better, 1 or 2?
I feel like without glasses, it still kind of feels that way. Like, is there a way to make this better? It is the worst.
But it's like optometry on top of optometry. It'd be like if you were wearing your glasses and then which I guess they kind of do that when you go to the optometrist, but you know what I mean? If you go to the optometrist regularly, it's like, do you want that in a video game? And that's what VR feels like. So anyway, this feels like such an evolution in a way that I think it's easy to say, oh, it's just more Astro, but like you can really see the ideas grow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And, we talked about it in that rapid fire interview, which is available on MinnMax's YouTube channel. But like, is made with
doing good numbers, by the way.
Doing good numbers. Yeah, it's climbing. It's sweet to see. But, the game was made with a team of 65 people. And it just shows you the value of like keeping a consistent team, them iterating on this idea, and then this is their chance to really go all out. Let's show the world what we can do. And for a team that small, like greatest bang for your buck I could imagine in video game development these days. Like, it's just a wild accomplishment.
Do we know how long it was in development for?
Well, I mean, 4
since
years.
Playroom.
Yeah, 4 years since the last one, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
But who knows how much of that was spent? Because also they do a lot of R&D and stuff like that, so it's kind of tricky to know exactly, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like in the world of perfect video games, there's Tetris, and then Astro Bot's in that conversation. Like, as I was playing, it's like no notes. This is just perfection. Like, maybe there are people who will decry that it's not long enough. If you want 100% it, I think that's going to be a great way to go.
I think it's perfect length, even if you 100% it.
Okay.
Because I was just reaching that point where I was like, I still love this. But like, how your brain's kind of like, but I'd like it to be done now, even though I'm loving it. It's like, this has reached its natural conclusion. And like, I mean, I played it in the way that I wouldn't move forward unless I 100%ed what I already did. And even then, it felt like it was the perfect length of time to play it that style, too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has to be my favorite 3D platformer at this point. Like, I'm trying to think if there's real competition for me, but I think this is number one.
I mean, I'll still always
Jack and Daxter.
Jack and Daxter. But this has Jack and Daxter in it, so it's basically a new Jack and Daxter game, Janet.
Jack and Daxter.
Mario Galaxy will always be important to me. And I don't know if that will ever be unseated, honestly, but
I know.
I think it's totally in that conversation. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I know I get too much crap for this, but go back and play Galaxy and tell me you aren't annoyed by minutes and minutes of hitting A as Rosalina's talking way too much. That game is annoying as hell.
Yeah, honestly, sure. I gotta play. Actually, that's like one of the few ones I haven't played. Galaxy and Galaxy 2. But playing it on the Switch though, it just feels kind of.
Oh, it's way worse on the Switch.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can just use Joy-Cons. You can play it as if you're playing on.
Yeah, but it doesn't. And maybe it's just but like maybe it's also just like the Wii hater in me. Like I didn't have the Wii because I thought it was
Wii
dumb.
hater.
Like. Yeah, I think it's I would talk about this all the time. Like having a remote for a controller, I think is stupid.
That's such I love that take from you. That's amazing.
That's a
Like why it's literally the Wii controller is a deconstructed controller, which I think is like idiotic.
Yeah,
it's
brilliant.
Like we
Genius.
split it in half.
Totally opened up video games to a whole other group of people.
You're shaking around. Yeah, and where's that group now? Exactly, Kyle. All right,
Grandma loves Wii bowling.
They all died
loves
of
it.
old age, but they died happy. Janet.
It is true that every old person who played Wii bowling is dead now. So what does that tell you?
I just said my grandma loves Wii bowling, and then you're gonna say that? That's messed up.
She didn't love it that much.
Shout out to wishing good health. Shout
salute.
out, but.
There are motion control things in Astro Bot that might maybe annoy some people. I got kind of like there's the climbing, is like
that's the one I was thinking of. Yes,
it is that same idea of like it's fine, but it's just like it's such small pockets.
I'm just nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking here. Like I'm having a blast.
Hey, I got a question for everybody. I really had a Phoenix Down moment playing this game, and it was for the prompt with spoiler for one bot you rescue. For Jammer Lammy, and it made some reference to Jammer Lammy being a lamb. I was like, wait, what? Is that why she's called Jammer Lammy?
I don't know any of the words you just said. Like, what
you
are
don't know. I'm gonna look in your eyes and say Jammer Lammy, and you're not gonna.
Unjammer.
She's a shy lamb. It never occurred to me that that's what she was. I just thought she was like a humanoid, like
with horns. I guess. Yeah,
she's totally a lamb. That makes so much sense.
Did you look at Jammer Lammy and you understand that she's a lamb because her name is Lammy?
Jammer Lammy is like the sequel to Parappa the Rapper.
Right. Spiritual successor, I guess sequel. Yeah, it's unclear.
She's like in a band. Yeah, it's a rhythm game.
She's iconic.
She's cool.
Let's see.
You thought everyone in that game was an animal but her.
Hang on. You can't get high and mighty. You telling me you played that game and you said, of course, she's a lamb. No questions asked.
Maybe not a lamb,
her
but
name is Lammy. I feel very stupid in
her name is Lammy, but still.
She also has ears.
I don't know what those are.
If they had spelt it Lamby, I think.
It's on them. Yeah.
It would be the clincher.
Because is she with Parappa? Are they a couple?
No, she just popped up on the LGBT wiki, so I don't know what's going on with them.
Not according to this fan art. I'll let you all know.
I mean, Parappa's in love with a flower. I mean, come on, this is common knowledge.
Right.
I Googled this character, and one of the things that comes up right away is like, what I have to presume are handmade dolls of like Parappa, and then her in a wedding dress holding his hand. So I'm like, is this?
Well, this is
don't
like
spoil
this
the
is
last
the
level.
algorithm sharing a lot about you, Jim.
Hey, I had to do a few scrolls. I'll have you know. So
Tasteful.
I was like genuinely like shocked doing the there's like a patch of the ground you spin to like go underneath it.
Right.
And the way that that's done, like from a haptics perspective, and then just like, I mean, it's the classic, like, you know, 3D, like it kind of zooms in, almost like that Mario 64 where it like has that zoom in and then you're in a secret area.
Yeah.
But the way that's done, my jaw dropped when that happened. I was like, oh my God, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And like, this game really did like make me feel like a kid again. Like, it's so beautiful. It's so well made. Like, I started playing this game and I like felt like I wanted to cry of joy with how like nice of a place it is. They have this thing like underwater where they sometimes have like a bubble that you can go in and then you can like stand and do your regular mechanics. And I think that's so smart because like water is like the hardest thing to do in a freaking video game. And it's like, okay, cool to like integrate these little pockets of having like traditional movement, but also the animation, the way it like functions is so beautiful. Like it's like literally a bubble. So you can like touch it and it kind of like undulates and you have to like use the force to like break through it. Which I think is really cool. And then I think like the last thing that I want to say about the game is I've been trying to think about like what, you know, differentiates this, what kind of like makes it special, like why is it so good? Like obviously, it feels good, it's fun, like it's cute. It's like, but what really like is at the heart of it? And I think one of the things that works for it so well, because I kept thinking of Mario 64 playing this game, like, you know, you have that early area where there's like a bunch of sea creatures. So I think of like that. I forgot the name of the Sea World in Mario 64, if anyone knows it, with the scary eel, whatever, right?
Hang on, stop. So we're gonna collectively think about this together. What is the name?
Dire Docks.
Yeah.
Is that the one with the eel though?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay. Okay.
I think it is. I think it is Dire Docks. Because that's what makes it dire, right? The eel.
Well, there's a lot of scary things
scary
in
place.
there. Yeah.
But I think one thing that Mario 64, which I know if people play it now, they probably have a lot of things that they think don't make it a good game because it does age roughly with the controls and the camera. But like one thing about Mario 64 that kind of takes away from its like magic is the fact that everything is so, what's the word? Like dangerous, essentially. Like everything kind of is there to kill you and like you can't really interact with everything. While Astro Bot, like it's a world that has enemies and they're there to fight and you have bosses, but so much of the world in both like its environmental construction and in its having the bots or having things like the little photo op cardboard cutouts, it's there to have fun with.
Yes.
Like they put a bunch of apples or acorns in a tree because when you hit it, it's fun that they come out of the tree.
So many
like,
particles.
They have so many instances of that. And I think not enough platformers spec into that in a sense where it's like, well, we have to like, the thing you have to do is like, has to be like platforming or like combat. But I feel like Astro is leaning into more of like the exploratory nature of what a platformer can be and what people like to do in platformers. Like the first thing you do in Mario 64 is you hit A and then you hit A again. And then you're like, what if I hit A again? And then it's really cool because you do all these flips and it's fun and it's enjoyable to run around and do that. And I feel like Astro's like, okay, what if we designed more into that so that you can have something to do while you're doing that thing that's already fun, and now you have fun stacked on top of fun.
Right, you're running to your goal, but at the same time you're running through just a sea of metal shards or just balls that are going to be flying everywhere. Like
the little gems, and you spinning them, and they all.
So
like, have you
good.
guys ever had a fish tank and you buy the rocks for the fish tank?
Oh yeah.
And you just, and like right before you put the water, you just stick your hands in the rocks and like zhuzh it around, and you're like, why does this feel so good? That's in this game so much. That's a random pull that my brain was like. It just feels so good.
By the way, Kyle, sit down before you fall down. Jolly Roger Bay is the name of the level.
Oh my god.
This is embarrassing.
I know, I was so confident.
I'm starting to think this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
I'm going to mute him the rest of the episode. But
I love Jeff when you said quietly, Kyle is canceled.
He doesn't even know what Dire Docks is, and he thinks Mario Galaxy is the best 3D platformer. Like, what is this guy talking about?
So which one's Dire Docks then?
Right? That's something, though, isn't it?
It is a level. I'm trying to remember which one that is. It's almost like we should...
I know which
Not
one
from
this is.
Sunshine.
Okay.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
That's the one that has Bowser's sub in it.
Right. Yes. That's why it's so dire. Yeah. The
Apologies,
one
everyone. I'll leave this call immediately.
It'd be nice.
That one is also cool. But
No doubt about it. But hey, Astro Bot. I look forward to everybody finishing it. Yeah, Haley, I'm gonna go back and I gotta get everything in this game because I had such a blast going through that, and I have like maybe like 220 out of 300. So I feel like there's so much.
There are
still
some
to
levels
uncover.
at the end that kick your ass, which
Yeah.
I love that they
good.
include that, because as much as it's like you're just supposed to play through and like have fun,
Yeah.
not think about it. At the very, it was giving me those platforming levels in Sunshine where you go to the void, like limbo
Yes.
area,
Yep.
and you do them 80 times in a row. There's a bunch of those, and I was getting so mad in the funnest way at those, because it's never like it's never the game's fault that I'm messing up. It's just like very fine-tuned fun nonsense with like moving platforms and enemies at the exact place that's perfect that they'll shoot you if you do it this way, so you have to change and go this, and you end up
Perfect.
doing. I did one level, had to be 50 times, and I was going crazy. And when
can't
you
wait.
finally beat
Yeah.
it, you're like, yes! And you get that licensed character at the end, and you bring them home, and you're like, I did. It's just, everything's great. I love that they have hard stuff too, because I'm
Yep.
picturing
Yep.
little kids playing this too. Is they'll have as much fun going through the levels, kind of feeling easy breezy mode, and then when they go to like finish it and get every bot, they'll go to those little levels, and in 20 years they'll be like, remember the blank level in Astro Bot? The same way we talk about Sunshine or 64. Now it's like kind of trippy that I'm
Dire
31.
Docks with the big
That's happening.
snake. We all
Yeah,
remember.
of
it.
course we
Yeah.
remember
But
that.
that's
So-
how good this is, that I can see kids calling this back as a nostalgia hit in 20 years.
Absolutely. It's going to be
Yeah.
the first game for so many people.
Yeah.
One question.
Yes, sir.
The portal worlds that you open,
Yeah.
you know, they go to their own area.
Yes.
Should I be doing like I have opened them, but I have not gone to them because I figured it was kind of like a special world Mario kind of thing where it's like, oh, I'll save those levels for the end.
You can. There's no reason to. Do whatever you want.
There's
I
like
just
different
do 'em now,
styles
yeah.
of them. Some of them are kind of
Okay.
just you go do a little combat challenge or as a platforming challenge, and they have like names, so it'll be like blank number 1 or blank number 2, and you just go through and do them all.
I thought of one reason to ding this game. The triangle that has googly eyes on it looks like trash. You know what I'm talking about? It looks
There's
like
all 4 of the buttons that look like that.
yeah, but the triangle in particular just looks like clip art
Just him?
garbage. Yeah, it was the first
that
thing
guy?
I encountered in this game where I was like, yuck, that looks dumb. And I want him to get off my screen. So I hope he burns in hell. Astro Bot, everybody. Highest recommendation for this thing. It's
I've been rattling my cage wanting to talk about this game.
I know. So
last week.
yeah, just full behind the scenes, like, I don't know, maybe Saturday morning or something, like Jacob Geller messaged me. He's like, hey, is Astro Bot like the greatest game ever made?
He
I
sent
was
me
like,
the exact same message.
yeah. I was like, I'm saving my thoughts for the podcast, but you might not be wrong. You might not be
He
wrong.
just wanted to. Why isn't he here? He wanted to talk about it. He's just DMing all of us to be like, so best game ever. All right, bye. Have a good Saturday.
Yeah, he is busy
Just
this
wanted to
week. We'll
chat
get him in
about
the future to talk about it. All right, from the highest highs to the lowest lows, straight to the dire docks of the game industry. Concord, ladies and gentlemen, back in the news. We can't get away from Concord. Wild news on Tuesday that dropped that this game that we just talked about last week that Haley's been enjoying a whole lot. It's lovely to hear people in the industry having a good time with it. Like, you know, Easy Allies, like Gabby and Huber over there are like, this game
Yeah.
rules. They love it. And then Sony said, that game we just released a week and a half ago, never mind. They are pulling it from the store, taking this first-person shooter offline after a week and a half.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable move. Like, Kyle, first reaction when you heard this bombshell.
Hugely surprising, completely unexpected, but like logically, I don't think it's a bad idea, depending on what their future plans are.
Yeah.
If it reemerges in a month or two as like a free-to-play game, or even further down the line, I think that's gonna do it more favors than if they just sort of let it languish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I kind of get it, is my reaction.
It's brutal.
But I was still like, yeah, flabbergasted. I was thinking of a list of like games that have unreleased. And you know, like there's not a lot. This is like the fourth one. If you count Multiverses, I don't know.
It's kind of Multiverse is like the most recent example of like, okay, it's early access, but now we're taking it down. We'll come back in a year and launch this thing again. But what else you got on that list for the?
Well, unfortunately, I don't remember the name. So it's like the Epic MOBA, right?
Yeah, Paragon.
That, like Fortnite killed. Yeah, Paragon. And then there was that Amazon game that was also
Crucible.
like a MOBA. Crucible. Yeah. I
Nice.
mean, this is certainly the fastest, right? Like,
Yes, for sure.
those other ones at least had some time. But like I said, I think it's like I I think it's the right call. I
It's-
don't know.
yeah,
I mean, it
it's tough.
sucks, but I think it's like the right decision.
It's a real wow moment. I think I'm with you, but like in other examples, think of like Sega's Hyenas, which is that live service shooter that they were running betas for, and then said, never mind, we're not even going to release that thing. So maybe that beat it because it didn't even technically get out there. At least this got to see the sunshine for a little bit. And I think
Over counting just canceled games.
yeah, no, but like I think too of like, Redfall in terms of like biggest 180s, like never mind. And like, I'm very thankful that it looks like Firewalk is still existing as a studio. Like it's not like Sony is shuttering the studio like Microsoft did for, Arcane Austin there. But Redfall, you can still play it offline, whereas Concord, you're hosed.
I mean, imagine if they had unreleased Redfall and then they announced a couple months later that they're like, oh, we're going to give it another shot. I don't know. I think it would have had a better chance. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Phil Spencer talked about that in the Kind of Funny interview. He's like, yeah, I understand people's take on that, but there's some games that no matter how much time you put into, you can't really redeem some core design
And then he said, we
failures
can't
there.
all be Astro Bot. I remember him saying that. And then
Yeah, if Phil Spencer ever plays Astro Bot, he's gonna never stop crying. By the way, can we talk about Astro Bot for a little bit? Haley, when Kyle's talking about like tears in his eyes from the joy, I had tears welling up in my eyes as I was finishing that game. Like I think it's so good. And
The ending's really fun.
it's amazing.
Like best moment contender for sure.
Yes.
at the end of your discussion.
Absolutely.
Did we just cancel our Concord discussion too? Is that what's happened? We unreleased that part of the podcast?
Yeah, I guess we did. No, it is a stunning, wild move, but I'm kind of with you, Kyle, that it's like, it's an wow moment at the same time, maybe not the wrong call. It teaches us that Sony is not playing around. It seems brutal, but like they gave it a week and a half. They're looking at the charts. They're looking at the numbers. They're looking at the idea that they wanted to pump out new cinematics on a regular basis to reveal these characters. And if that player base isn't there, those are going to be really expensive. And like, if everyone's screaming, why isn't this a free-to-play game? And they launch it a year from now, call it Concord Reborn or something trashy like that. Make it free to play, put some PlayStation skins in there like Easy Allies was talking about, like just really try and connect it as much as they can. It might have a shot.
So you guys think it's coming back? I don't think we see this game ever again.
I think most studios,
Yeah.
I'd be the case. I would bet that this is coming back because it's like,
I think
I don't
they've
think it's
sunk
coming back.
so much cost into it. Like even if it becomes like a short little campaign, like 5-hour campaign,
that'd be
maybe
interesting.
or something, but that would require even longer development time. But 8 years this was in development for. That's crazy.
Janet-
Like, it's a week and a half.
yeah, I'll bet you on that,
Week and a
Janet, if
half.
you want. I'll bet you $20 that this comes back.
$20.
Yeah.
What? How do I know when I won though?
oh yeah, what's
I
the
were
date?
to
5 years
win.
from now.
You'll
5
never-
years from
you'll
now.
never-
5 years? That's so long. That's kind of a long time.
Yeah, you're
I think
right.
I
It's
need shorter
impossible.
than 5 years.
But I think why not
Great.
try to convert it into free to play and try that? That feels like, not easy
I
by
don't
any
know why
means.
why work on a game for 8 years, put it out, and then pull it after a week? Like, I
Because
feel
no
like I
one's
get what you
playing
mean.
it. Because they're designing this for to be a live service game or
They were
to
in like
have
triple
but-
digit
player
numbers on
base.
PC.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like
Crazy.
games fail all the time. Like I feel like at this point anything can happen. You know what I mean? Because I never
Sure.
would have guessed that they would pull this thing. So I'm
No,
like,
it's unbelievable.
I think so much of this conversation too, and obviously some of it is just like people online that don't know anything about anything, but it's like, I think it's easy to sit and talk from the hindsight that we do have.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is, like, I can only speak for myself. I never would have predicted this for this game
No,
ever
that's
in a
wild.
million years. It is unprecedented. So at this point, I think logic and reason is out the window. This just vibes now. Like, and for me, I'm going to say, no, they're not bringing it back. And I don't know what'll happen to the studio, but I don't trust that the studio will be fine.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for damn
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
That's fair.
like if Sony can be, if PlayStation's like this cutthroat, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily wrong from a business sense, but like, and then also look at the other stuff, right? The tea leaves, like with Last of Us, like multiplayer not even coming out. They're like, well, we can't afford to lose this studio. So like, you can't even put out this game because I don't know what was with, obviously they thought it wasn't up to snuff.
Right.
It is one of those situations where it's like all of this is prefaced on the idea of like, well, if they take it back and they make it free to play, then everybody's going to be interested in it.
Right.
And it's like,
Yeah.
what what are you basing those internal projections on?
Like Ugly Sonic or something, like those weird niche moments where they change things slightly and then everyone's like, okay, now I love this.
Sonic was really ugly. It was kind of crazy how ugly he was.
But
He was really ugly.
Does work. I remember because Peter, the one I think of often is like Peter Dinklage in Destiny, how he got recast. But like the day after Nolan North started voicing that robot, I remember people being like, I miss Dinklage, you know? And it's like, if you give people a chance to like miss this thing and it becomes this thing that like only some people have played and they're like, you know, Concord was really good. It's too bad it disappeared and we'll never get a shot. And then it comes back, like Gigantic recently kind of did that.
Yeah.
Like,
but look at that example. I mean,
kind of crashed and burned. And when they announced it was coming back, I heard all these people be like, oh, you know, I never really got a chance to check it. I want to go back to Gigantic. I mean, maybe that's the dice they're rolling with Concord. I don't know.
I think Gigantic's a great example. I haven't looked at the numbers for Gigantic Reborn. I don't know what that's like, but I think it's so easy to fall in love with your audience and be convinced that, like, I don't know, I go on Twitter and people every day, like a dozen people say they want this game back. Let's give them another round of Gigantic.
That's the totality of the people who bought it.
Right, yeah. And so, like, yeah, it is fascinating to see, like, you know, there's a post from the community lead in the Concord Discord about like, oh, we love this community so much.
And tough job. Jeez.
Yeah, that's tough. But at the same time, like, I bet there is like a sweet community that is really passionate about this, that are making fan art for Hamar and these characters out there, you know? And so it's like, if they're hearing that, it's got to be tough to be like, sorry, folks, we're taking it offline. And we should point out that they're also providing refunds for everybody who purchased it, which is wild. I feel like if you're pulling it, you have to, but holy cow. And then, you know, talking about people being nostalgic for stuff that's taken down, even in the Discord and MinnMax's Discord, I saw people being like, I kind of want that Concord controller now. And I'm
I wanted it before it was cool, and it hasn't come to Canada yet, and now it never will. I've been waiting for the PlayStation Store to let me buy it.
I think part of that is people always line up to see the Titanic sinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, now this is part of history. Like now, it's kind of like, I mean, this is for a more positive thing, but like that, it's like the Mario All-Stars thing. People are like, I gotta buy my sealed copy. It's not because they love Mario All-Stars. It's because they're like, I think I can resell this later. It's gonna be like, they're part of the spectacle. It's the car crash where it's like, oh, I shouldn't be looking. Man, did you see what was up ahead? Like, it's that kind of vibe.
They're profiting off the car crash.
Not 10 minutes ago, we're talking about how the Switch version of Mario Galaxy is the best version.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen that people are playing it now, trying to get the platinum before it goes under? And one of the requirements is getting to level 100. And the fastest way to do that is to kill yourself over and over by jumping off the edge. So I actually was trying to play a game yesterday, and everyone was dying. And I looked it up, and people are trying to get the platinum, and they just come and they head to the right and jump off the edge. But like, there's no way you'll get enough.
Like poetic.
I
know, right? What the hell? But there's no way
funny.
they'll get enough XP. Like, I've played like 70 hours of this game. I don't know what level I'm at, but not close to 100. Like, good luck, guys. Keep jumping. You're not getting this freaking platinum, you freaks who only care about it once it's going under, you assholes.
All right.
That's the weird, like, quote unquote problem is like, no one was saying the game was bad.
Right.
Like, no, right. Like, everyone who played it was like, yeah, even I, who's Mr. No multiplayer, found a character I liked and was enjoying in the beta, you know, like, there's a good game here. It just no one latched onto it.
But in the live service wars, there's no space for a pretty good game, you know?
And that's where I kind of feel I'm with Janet, because it's like, you're going to take it down, you're going to try and retool it for however long. And how many examples in that meantime are we going to have of other like misguided live service and hero shooter games that everyone was like, we got to make one of these now because everybody loves them. And it feels like it's example after example of those crashing and burning and people being like, oh, maybe this isn't the future. And I don't like doubling down on that is the literal example of a sunken cost fallacy.
Well, I think it's fascinating to think of, first of all, like Sony, really strong brand at this point, PlayStation 5 selling like hotcakes. And the idea that like
kissing their butt the whole last section about how much we love PlayStation.
Yeah.
So take that money and make an Astro Bot.
Yeah, smart.
I know y'all saw that. No, it does. It literally does.
Really?
It's a picture of Astro. Yeah, but not the game. Not like it's not like by Astro Bot, but it's a picture of Astro, like a 404. Like, oh, it's no page, and it's like Astro's like,
oh god,
he doesn't really make a sound, so I couldn't make
me
it.
Instead.
Yeah,
he was like, this way. You know, he was standing there, with his one eye, just kind of winking at you.
Let's go.
Yeah.
No, but thinking about like the marketing for PlayStation, all the PlayStation muscle, everything they could muster, and still it can't bring this thing even to a passable level. That's a fascinating scenario. And where it gets especially fascinating is thinking about the future and the other, what I see is kind of like the sister game. I think it was revealed in the same state of play, right? But Fair Games. You remember that kind of the heist game that also is coming from PlayStation. And so it's like, at this point, if I was working on Fair Games, I'd be quaking in my boots. And are they going to pivot hard and realize that Fair Games needs to be free to play? If we want these live service things to have a shot, we gotta push for this to make a hard
or
pivot.
A single player campaign.
Kyle, they want money. They're not trying to satiate some 40-year-old gamers in their basement like you. Sorry. So I think that would be the way to
Kyle's
go.
getting dragged in this episode. Kyle's he's like, God forbid I make a guess on where the Mario water level was. There's 2. I picked one of them.
You're out of line.
Jeez.
One more wrong thing.
I mean, even my opinion of Mario Galaxy is a very good game getting attacked.
No, it is. You're right. I want to not drag Mario Galaxy too much. Obviously, it's a masterpiece.
Hey, I didn't finish it. It might be really good. I don't know. It was a little disorienting.
Yeah,
but,
they shouldn't have put the length of text of Moby Dick inside of it, and then it would be an awesome game with Rosalina explaining the different pantheons. But
Call me Rosalina.
but wild story. It's an always fascinating industry, and holy cow, PlayStation isn't messing around. That was shocking to see this thing go down.
I'm curious if anything happens, because in that secret level anthology series,
yes,
Concord is like one of the
the Amazon
stories.
Yes.
Yeah, like does that A, just not happen, or B, are there people who are gonna like watch that because they like Mega Man or something and they watch all of it and they're like, the hell is Concord?
I think it's cooler to leave. I mean, it's the ultimate secret level. It's for a game you can't even play by the time that thing airs. But maybe they can
That's
build.
horrible. Sorry, I shouldn't have laughed. But it is just it's a weird circumstance. It'd be like, I don't even know how to explain it. I guess it's the equivalent of like you booked a trip, but you broke up with the person. And it's like, do we still go? Do you
That's
go?
a good analogy.
It's like that kind of vibe, you know? I don't know. I think too, at the end of the day, to me, this just clarifies something that I feel like we all already knew, which is that like we may be pretty good at telling what like a good video game is. Like I think we're all like analytical enough to see that after the fact. I don't think anyone knows what makes a good live service game in terms of like what will succeed. And I do think obviously a lot of people are like, oh, you could tell it wouldn't succeed because it looked generic, whatever. You know, I'll be the first to admit that I didn't think Helldivers 2 was going to pop off the way it did.
Of course, yeah.
And you can say that makes me like bad at my job, but like, why would I think a sequel to a game that like, you know, we don't know. And obviously I'm not the product is still the product. Like I think that game has more going for it than Concord maybe ever did.
Yeah.
But like the reality is it's not enough to you have to have so much working for you.
Yeah.
And like I think development always has a layer of luck, but more than anything, like live service is such a minefield where it's like you win really big or you die incredibly, and that seems like the only 2 options for live service essentially. And obviously I think this is a more extreme example of a failure, but yeah, it is such a dice roll, and the fact that they got Helldivers 2 to be successful is definitely not maybe they can do this. And it's not that they can't do it, like PlayStation as like a company, but it is so random and tough to get that success.
Which especially is weird because they bought Bungie because of that live service knowledge, you know, and now even Bungie is going through some very challenging times with the layoffs there. But yeah, I just think of like in the past, not one of these old fogies that says, hey, everything was better in the past or whatnot, but like it's just interesting to think like, oh, in the past, if you released a game that was pretty good, it could live on store shelves, people could find it, and now if a game is pretty good, it's like, yoink, all right, immediately not catching on, it's gone forever. And like I think of, you know, I was playing Astro Bot with my nephews the other day, and they played the beta of Concord with me, and they loved it. They're like, this game rules, I love this. And we were playing Astro Bot, and they're like, hey, Uncle Ben, when you get a PS6, can we have your PS5? I'm like, what would you play on the PS5? What do you want? And they're like, we want that one shooter game that was really fun. And it's like, well, sorry, Concord will never be played again. Or maybe it will in a year in a free-to-play form. Yeah, you're right.
Also, I would say 2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
2 years is fair.
And then I'll say if it ever does come back, I'll just have ready to give you the $20 back. I think that's fair. You know, I guess 40 then, because it'd be the back and then the extra 20 for the winning of the thing.
Let's just hand each other $20 right now and feel really good about ourselves and really smart.
Or you could hand me 40 right now, and then we just walk away. You know,
I see nothing wrong with that strategy. Concord, wild times, everybody. Can we get?
I kind of hate that it's an anecdote now. You
I
know,
do
it's
too.
like, well, don't be a Concord. Like, oh, it's gonna be a. It's weird that this Band-Aid's ripped off.
There's such a
Band-Aid's
stink
fun.
on it too. That bringing
Yeah.
it back, it's like I don't know if they'd rename because like it has a bad association now. It just does.
I saw kind of both sides of the coin. Like some people like, I'm really happy that big companies are learning this lesson sort of angle. It's like, yeah, like don't do this kind of stuff. But then like the antithesis is like Concord was fun. Like a lot of it, like this is a bummer. I just think this is a bummer. Like I don't know why we have to be like, yes, another win. A live service game is dead. I was like, yeah, but it was fine.
Get off Twitter. Get off Twitter, Haley, please.
I know.
Yeah, and it also makes me wonder of like, in terms of grand strategy, like we brought up Helldivers. Is the strategy not, hey, we make 10 of these, and if one of them hits and becomes really popular, then we've done what we set out to do in the first place?
I guess
I don't
so.
like that. That's how it's approached. It's like I don't like how that's the metric for games. You're completely correct. That's how it's being viewed. But I hate that the games industry is in a growing pains, like learning lessons section right now, and it's just coming at the cost of, oops, mistake, moving on. And they like pull things after a week and a half. And like, that's not, maybe like I'm just spoiled because that's just not how we've done things. Games industry, that's not how it's done. But like, is that just late stage capitalism games industry now? It's like, this is how we fix problems. We do this. And this is just the first Band-Aid rip. And now we're going to see it a ton more now. I don't know.
Can we talk about something pleasant? Like Super Mario Galaxy. Nothing better.
We're gonna get so many comments about Super Mario Galaxy, by the way. I already know. There's that bee that Charles likes in there, right? Is that?
It was good until Charles ruined that bee. Flock. Haley and Janet, you've been playing this game from the creators of Ho Hokum, if you remember that delightful thing from years ago. This is as peaceful as it gets, eh?
Yeah, it's very relaxing. I really liked my time with this game. It's kind of a mix between like open oceans, like go out and collect the little critters, and then Flower of just like fly around, like go around and vibe. It was a very like, I sat down to play it and I was just I just kind of beat it like at one, like, cause I was just like, this is very relaxing. So I just listened to a podcast and flew around.
And so you're just flying around and collecting little guys, and that's the game?
Literally, it's like you have a flock and you're this little character who comes to this area, and there's someone who's like, oh, I want to learn more about the local flora and fauna. So you have a little book that you're trying to collect everyone, and you have to find whistles that let you collect them into your flock, and you have little sheep in your flock too, and you send them out to eat algae, and then you unlock other things. Like it was really fun just to collect things. Like even when I beat the game, which was kind of like my gripe with it, it was like the actual story beats were quite nothing. It was literally just, it kind of felt unpolished in that way. And then the ending was truly just like, and it's done. And then it just like let you go out and back into the world again. I was like, all right. But like the flying around and collecting little birds thing was satisfying enough that I was just like, yeah, this is a vibe. It just made me turn off my brain for a few hours and relax. It was nice.
Yeah, it does seem nice. You haven't played it too, Janet?
Yeah, I haven't beaten it yet, but it is like a game that I really want to go back to, and it's one that I like genuinely do think I'll go back to because it's not that long, and it is just really peaceful. Like it's kind of, it has that same flow state of like Abzu, but minus the like puzzles because it's not really as puzzly. But it's like it's a good game for if you're someone that can really find joy in a satisfying flow of like locomotion. Like that's what I get out of like Solar Ash, where it's like that game I don't think is really that good, but I like skating around that world, and I like the world that it provided for me to do that, and I'll just kind of fumble my way into progression, and I can in Solar Ash, so like, cool. Flock is similar, but even more like stripped down in terms of like the mechanics of what you're doing, like Haley mentioned. It's like you really just go around, you get stuff, and I think it has a really fun multiplayer angle to it. I did that with some of my like indie council peers, like we played through the game together.
I only played it single, but it seems really fun multiplayer.
Yeah, I know. I wish I knew you were playing because then you could just go into my world. That's what I like about it. It's like you just go. It's like you just kind of sync up and then you do your own thing. Like you don't need to be around each other. You don't need to like help each other. But if you're flying near each other, you can like help kind of capture a creature together. And the animals are really funky and lovely. Like they're all kind of like, they can all fly, but some of them look like whales. Some of them look like birds. Some of them look like these other things. And I think the palette is just very pleasing. Like it's like a really saturated but like colorful little world. It's it's just joyful to like do. But it is something where it's like, if you don't like that act of like flying around and like collecting creatures, and you don't like enjoy the fact that it's cool that they're cute, and look, I can gain wool and then I can make a scarf. Like, if that's not like up your alley, it probably won't be of interest to you.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who does like that, you'll be like, oh yeah, I get other thing. What's not to like? You know, and that's it speaks to my sensibilities as a player, and that's what I like about it. And I think it's strong at creating a vibe, and I feel like that's really what it sets out to do. I think everything else is just there, you know, kind of thing. Like, to your point, Haley, it's like, I don't think it's going to win narrative of the year, but it's a fun experience to just be in that environment.
Yeah.
And another fun thing with playing it is you don't control up and down, just left and right. So it's very freeing in that you don't have to be like, oh no, a bush, and like dodge it. Like, if you just press forward, it'll naturally do that. And the more little guys you get, the longer that little trail of wind behind you gets, and you really feel like you're going faster. And I think my absolute favorite part of this was it was gamifying bird watching. And I was like, I've never been bird watching before, but like every little critter has its own, there's like different subspecies. So whenever you discover one, the little woman asks, do you know what subspecies this is part of? And you have to guess that. So it's like you going, I think it's I can't even remember. They all have little silly names. And then when they show it, they go,
is it like fantasy birds, or are these like legitimate?
Yeah.
They'll be like the long ones, the ones that are like flounderly fat, flat.
Like, this is Wormhole or whatever. And it's like,
this is a Wormhole.
Like
And then once you pick the right one, it says, okay, which one is it? And then there'll be like all the subspecies. And it'd be like, some of them hide in bushes. Some of them have vertical stripes with a yellow tail. And you have to like look at it and be like, I think it's this one. They say, yeah. And then the fact that they all have different sounds, I was flying around and you get used to hearing, it's just like constant little bird chirpy noises. And you'll hear a new chirp and you stop and you're like, oh, there's a new little bird here. And I'm like, is this what bird watchers feel like when they're out in the woods? Like, it genuinely was. And I thought that was like my favorite part of it was I was in the middle of the woods and I heard like, bloop, 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 bloop. I'm like, I've never heard that. What is that little guy? And you can go into like a search mode where you can scan, and it was a bird pretending to be a bush. And I like probably flew over 100 of them already, but I scanned down and it was like the bush warbler or something. And I was like, there you are. And I was like, this is going to be me in my 50s. I'm gonna go into the woods and just look for animals. It was very satisfying.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into birding. I haven't really like fully done it yet, but I got the Merlin app. I'm ready. Like, I got it.
You got the app. There's no birds around, but you have an app. You're good to go.
Yeah, we got a couple birds. I mean, you know, it's like I live in the city, so it's like okay,
pigeon.
that one is the same, bird, right? Well, careful. No, okay. Anyway, but like, yeah, it's fun. Like, it's just like but I like that in game. So I'm like, well, why not do this in real life? Like, you can just like look at a creature, take a picture of it, and upload it to my little compendium. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Yeah, and I think Flock really provides that as well.
Yep, it's on Steam. Annapurna published it. It's on Game Pass, on Xbox. Yeah, good call. And then PlayStation as well, but Flock is the name of that thing. Haley, you have to go on and do very important things, but thank you for your time. Would you like to clap on out of here or plug anything before you clap on out of here?
I'm doing a talk at the Indie Game Summit in Vancouver.
What?
This month, yeah.
Congratulations.
It'll be fun. It's a talk I've already kind of done for MinnMax, video game mechanic patents, but for game devs specifically, indie devs, what they need to know about them. But that is
nice.
Ooh, I should probably know the date. The 21st, Saturday the 21st. So if anybody is in Vancouver, and you want to hear me talk in person about things, apparently the Indie Summit's very fun. So other devs have told me. So I'll be there.
That sounds great. Yeah. Congratulations. All right.
Thank
Thanks
you
so much, Haley. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Now that Haley's gone, let's get down to business. Talk about what's really important in the world. Tomba?
Yeah, I think we're going to spend most of the time just talking about how do you actually pronounce this thing.
Yeah, it's impossible.
I thought it was Tomba.
I always thought
Tomba?
I always thought Tomba, but I don't know the answer.
Hanson said Tomba.
I said Tomba. I'm trying to
record.
make everyone happy here. But this is the old PlayStation game that has been brought back thanks to limited run. Full disclosure, they did sponsor an episode of Trivia Tower that Huber was hosting. But Janet, I'm surprised you jumped back into this. I know you're a platforming fan, and this caught your eye. It's not too dusty for you to go back to the beauty of the pink-haired platformer Tomba.
No, I think if you have like an open mind to it being old and having like that kind of grating effect of it being old, then you can find joy in it. Obviously, it is very like it is stiff. Like also, it's not anything I remember it being. I don't know how.
Same here.
So
in my mind, I'm totally
quick
with you.
history. Like I remember, this is me in Tomba, whatever, Tomba, however you want to call it. It's like, I was a kid. I think, what was this, PS1?
Yeah.
It was also, was it on anything else?
Nope, I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. Maybe like a PSP port. Sometimes that happens.
My cousin in Wisconsin, Brandon, had a PS1. I didn't have a PS1. We visited him. He was a big gamer. So he was like, hey, yeah, here's my PS1. I was like, cool, we're playing some PS1 games while we're visiting you. And that's one of the games I played. And I remember being like, yeah, this game's great. It's so different. It's like, yeah, he's got pink hair, pigs, cool. That's my memory. That's all I remember.
I'm kind of with you.
Pigs, hair, Brandon, other language. I remember the other language. And I remember at one point in the game, he was able to get them to speak English. That's my memory. I might be incorrect. And I remember being like, oh my God, how did he figure it out? He's like so smart. Like he's like a genius. And then he just turned the console off because he was like crazy. He'd be like, oh, his sister wanted to hang out. He just turned it off. It's like, you didn't even save it. He's like, I don't care. I'll just do it again. And I'm like, whoa, pro gamer here. I would never.
Man's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with
That's
you,
all
Janet.
I remember. So
Yeah, it's
playing
like-
this, I didn't know what the hell this was.
Yeah, it is. It's iconic in my mind as like, oh, a friend had it. And it was like, in my mind, oh, it's just the PlayStation platformer with the caveman with pink hair. And then I go into this and it's like, oh, there's so much more to this game than I thought of. Like, there's like items and abilities. It's just like more of like an adventure game aspect going on in Tomba than I remember at all. But it's a really quirky, unique thing. And I'm really glad that we're now at an age where something like Tomba can come back.
I don't have a lot of memories of it other than like being sort of enamored with the concept of like 2.5D.
Yeah.
Like I liked that idea. I remember I had a Blockbuster that I could ride my bike to and I would go play Pandemonium.
Hell yeah.
On their sort of like
Crystal Dynamics.
system that they had in the shop. And so Tomba was like, oh, that's another one of those. That seems cool. And yeah, playing it recently, I was like, this is so much weirder than I thought it would be. Like I thought it would just be like it's kind of a Mischief Makers is kind of in that same zone.
Okay,
where it's
sure.
just like, this is like you look at it and you're like, oh, platformer, got it. But then you start playing it and you're like, I'm grabbing characters and like throwing them. This is so much different than I expected. In a way that's intriguing. It's interesting.
Yeah, and it's nice with this version. They have like behind the scenes videos of the creators, and you can like rewind stuff and whatnot on there. But are you having fun, Kyle, or is it more just it's cool to relive this oddity from the PS1?
Mostly that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not pulling me away from other games that we talked about on the podcast, or even like Star Wars. But like, it's just like one of those. I'm glad I have it on my PlayStation because it's always been one of those PlayStation 1 games that was like hard to go back to that I didn't know what it was, and now I have a better understanding of it, so I appreciate it for that reason.
Yeah, no, it's cool. You gonna keep playing it, Janet?
Yeah, I would like to. I don't know when I'll get back to it. And to clarify too, like you need an open mind to a degree, but I think it's if you're down for it, it's thoroughly fascinating. I haven't played anything like that in maybe ever in a way. It's like, what if Link's Awakening was a platformer? Or like maybe Minish Cap is a better comparison because it has that chained like kind of quest line through it.
Yeah.
And then when I got to like, I didn't get like super far. I played a couple hours, but I got to the point where like you're at the village and then you like bite people to gain the language. And you're like, they're like, you haven't gained the language yet. People are speaking a different language to you. And then you like gain their language and then you can talk to them. It is like bonkers in design. And I think it's really creative. I think it's really fascinating. It is definitely a tough one in that like, it's an older game, so it has a lot of like kind of those little design flaws of like you have to be so perfect with everything because if you miss like one of those items, it's like, oh God, was like you had one where you have to find some people, like some kids or something. And I'm like, if I don't find this last one, I have no idea where he is, and I'll have to go back through 8 different areas and small loading screens to get there, and that's going to be a pain in the ass. So like it has that quote unquote problem to it. But other than that, like it's like really interesting. And with the rewind, you can take a lot of that pain out anyway.
Yeah.
Like I think if you have an open mind and an open heart, you'd be like, wow, this is like one of the most, it's even more unique than I thought it was. Like, I just thought like, I don't know. He jumped, he had pink hair, but I'm like, this is actually crazy. And I've never seen this in a platformer.
Yep,
Really.
I'm totally with you. Tomba Special Edition out now if you want to check that out. Also, Nintendo continues to tease, and folks at PAX got to play The Legend of Zelda. Some folks at PAX, not Janet. But The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, the next Zelda game. So they just released that video, Kyle, with finally showing off what was in the rifts, which they teased last time. In the last video they released...
With the Still World?
The Still World, not the Dark World.
Like,
this is just a remixed, weird, scattered version that kind of is taking assets into this.
Yeah,
I don't know,
but it's one of those little Nintendo localization things that we always commend them for. That's like, I like that name,
right?
Because like everything pauses in there. It's cool.
Yeah, it seems cool. But as Zelda aficionado, what stands out to you about the Still World as the Dark World equivalent, or just the other area you're going into in this game?
Actually, watching it, the thing that stood out to me, which was maybe stupid, and maybe it was in another trailer and I just missed it, but you can auto jump. I don't know that you've ever done that in a 2D Zelda, where you can jump over little gaps and stuff like that. Like that was an Ocarina of Time thing, where you could just like go to an edge and jump off of it. And Zelda's like jumping all over the place. I don't know. I don't think there's a jump button. It looks like you auto jump. And that was, I don't know, maybe it's like the sort of just like minutia Zelda person in me that I'm like, ooh, I don't think I've ever done that in 2D Zelda. I've jumped. I've earned an ability. I've have the feather to Rocco's cape or whatever to make me jump. But yeah.
It looks bizarre. And so it's like going to be kind of puzzly to try and navigate all these different scattered floating things in here. And then it was interesting because then they said, and it's the big question is like, are there going to be dungeons in this game? And this video is very much like, yes, there are dungeons. Seems like they're all going to be in the still world is the way that video was kind of framing it. But still looking at the dungeons, I'm like, okay, there's not really like a map. I'm curious if they're going to feel like the classic dungeons that Zelda fans have been screaming for years now, or if it's still going to be like, they're dungeons with an asterisk again.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's definitely leaning more Breath of the Wild school of Zelda. Like it just like, and maybe it's not, maybe we get it and it's like, oh, this is like you're going into a room and then there's a dungeon. Like maybe it feels more like traditional Zelda. But from the outside watching these videos, it's like they're trying to do an overlap between Breath of the Wild and like 2D Zelda is what it feels like to me, which is very intriguing and exciting and interesting.
Yeah.
I also like that you can use a sword, but I like that there's limitations on it. I mean, maybe I won't when I play it, but like I was almost a little disappointed when I saw you could use a sword, because I was like, well, I mean, I liked that this was going to be unique and Zelda was going to have her own thing, but the fact that there are limitations on it and it's like there's like a currency connected to it, it's like, oh, that seems like it's smart because it gives you the Zelda sword enough to like if you're just struggling against enemies or something like that, but you can't lean on it the whole game, which I like.
Yeah, but you basically turn into Link, Zelda dressed as Link for a period of time, and you can use the sword and you're collecting like fragments and stuff to build it up, which is super funky. But like, I wonder, is that what they were talking about when, remember that story went around a while ago, like the ESRB rated the game and said you play as Link in it. And so do you think that's what they were talking about, is like this weird transformation thing with the sword?
I mean, I always took that as like it looks like you play as Link for like the first 5 minutes.
But then again, like the cutscene, like the opening thing they showed is kind of that opening cutscene. So it'd be weird. I don't think they'd redo that. Like I think that was the asset from the game, and that just shows Link entering that area and then getting destroyed. So
I mean, I just assumed you would play as him for just a little bit at least.
They show a boss fight, and it's interesting that you can just summon enemies in, and then the enemies attack the boss. But they were talking about you can go, take different avenues towards attacking these bosses. And then one of the things that they show in the video is Zelda just summons a bed and then she lays down and goes to sleep in the middle of a boss fight.
Hey, that's creativity, man. You wouldn't think of that.
She recovers health that way, which I think is so cute.
Yeah.
That's like adorable. That's like the best like health recovery thing ever. I don't know how, it's interesting that they showed that specifically. I guess I wonder how long that take, like, like how feasible of a strategy is that? But like, I don't know, the new fairy jar is just a bed that you summon in to lay down.
Perfect.
Love it.
So Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, I'm so happy to see Nintendo just continuing to take chances with the Zelda franchise. Like how many other franchises after this many years, I was like, I don't know, try this weird thing. Let's try this weird thing.
Yeah, I love it. I remember a long time ago, I got assigned a feature at Game Informer, just like a website story that was like, you should write like what we want from Zelda. And I wrote it and I had ideas and stuff, but like even at the time I was like, what I want from Zelda is like, I don't know. I just want to be fully surprised. I don't want them to take my directions at all.
You should have said you want a game where you play as Zelda, but you can summon in different items. The website's gone. They'll never know. You could have taken credit for all
actually,
this.
yeah, that's what the article I wrote in that article.
And I love worlds if they're still. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming.
Yeah.
But yeah, September 26th. So that thing is coming out damn soon this month, everybody, for Echoes of Wisdom. Hey, Jeff, do you know what's coming up on Monday, September 9th? At like 8:30 p.m. Central, I'd say.
8:30 p.m. Central. 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 8:30 p.
Oh, do we? We all know that is Trivia Tower.
Wow, Jeff Marchiafava on the ball.
You
everybody.
think I can't figure that out?
Damn
Hanson?
it. Yeah, Trivia Tower, everybody. The next episode of our trivia show is happening this Monday. If you're a supporter on Patreon at any tier, even that $2 tier, you're helping to support independent games media, and you can compete in game trivia. You'll have a fun night, and you can win codes. The last person standing also wins an Astro A50X headset, which is worth hundreds of dollars. So jump in, help support us, and compete. It'll be a fun time. It all takes place in the Discord, but if you've never used Discord, don't be intimidated by it. It's really, you can play in your browser. It's a piece of cake. So if you've never played Trivia Tower and you want to jump in, now's the time, everybody. Support us at that $2 tier to jump in. And so Monday, September 9th, and the co-host this time is somebody I'm very excited to podcast with or to host trivia with. Alana Pierce is joining us this time around. Yeah, I'm a big fan of hers, so it should be a fun time. So jump in there, win some codes for a ton of games like Dragon's Dogma 2, and we literally have so many other options you get to choose. Hey, Jeffem, you know what's better than playing trivia?
No.
Eating food, my brother. Eating food. But Kyle, you know what sucks about eating food?
Making it?
Correct. I'd argue the shopping, the prepping, the cooking.
Deciding. That's the part I hate.
Yep, the deciding, the cleaning up. What if you were able to remove every terrible aspect of that and it was just, hey, do you want great food, quality product, I'd say restaurant quality, and you can crush your wellness goals and this stuff is going to be dietitian approved little meals? What if one of those just appeared magically on your plate in front of you and the entire family got to cromp down on it and be delighted? What if that was possible, Kyle?
If I could summon a meal the way Zelda summons a bed, that'd be incredible.
Well, you can with Factor. Surprise, everybody. What? Janet, this is no myth. This is no work of fiction. This is Factor. They are chef-created meals. You get to choose what you want for these microwavable meals ready in 2 minutes. Trust me, they are good. I am delighted every time a new box of Factor shows up. You can choose what you want. You can choose Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto Diet. It is fantastic. You get to choose between 13 different meals, more than 60 add-on options for these meals as well, but you get a big box of Factor. The stress washes away from you and your family's life because you realize, hey, 2 minutes, we'll have a meal ready and it's good. It's not trashy, microwavable garbage town that Jeffem grew up on. Factor Meals, everybody. Factormeals.com/MinnMax50. Use code MinnMax50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off next month. That's code MinnMax50 at factormeals.com/MinnMax50. 50% off your first box plus 20% off next month while your subscription is active. Truly one of my favorite sponsors, Factor Meals. They are fantastic. So if you want to help support us, keep them around. They support us in a big way. So check out factormeals.com/MinnMax50. Use that promo code. Let them know that we sent you and that you are eating good food because of us. Also, shout out to our dear friends at I'm 8-Bit. They want everybody to know about Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, everybody. Remember Bomb Rush Cyberfunk? By God, I'm 8-Bit does, because they don't let these cool indie games go unseen and uncelebrated, because not only can you get the vinyl soundtrack, 3 vinyl soundtrack to Bomb Rush Cyberfunk with a ton of great music on there. But also at I'm 8-Bit's wonderful online store, you can get the exclusive physical edition of Bomb Rush Cyberfunk on PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, or Xbox. It includes a graffiti art booklet, including art from the game, a collectible O sleeve. Jeff, don't get started on your O-sleeve rants. It is the first collaboration between I'm 8-Bit and Team Reptile. It has exclusive edition cover art with art from Tanzi Hui. I'm sorry for pronouncing your name incorrectly. It has 6 graffiti stickers, and it has a digital download code for the DLC for Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. So it is a huge... I'm 8-Bit doesn't phone in these physical editions. If they're making a physical edition of an indie game, they love the game, and they're going to pack it full of awesome things like stickers, graffiti art. So you can check out Bomb Rush Cyberfunk at I'm 8-Bit's wonderful online store. And throughout the entire month of September, you can use a promo code to get 10% off everything in their wonderful online store. That promo code is Do You Remember? No space. Do you remember? No space, 10% off for everything under $100 in iMapit's wonderful online store. And you should help support them because they support the MinnMax community in a big bad way by shipping out a prize each and every week to whoever has the best questions submitted over there on Patreon. You jump in at the $2 tier, you get access to the Discord. You can submit questions to the MinnMax show and potentially win question of the week. You can compete in Trivia Tower. You can submit comments on Mirror's Edge for the deepest dive. There's a ton of stuff you can do. But you submit that question, we choose our favorite. This week, that person wins the Sonic Colors vinyl soundtrack, thanks to iMateBit, which is freaking awesome looking and sounding. All right, y'all ready for community questions?
Yeah.
Do it.
Great. Well, then I hope you like hearing from JD Denton. JD Denton writes in. They say, hey, this is apropos. If the English language was going to get a patch for balance and bug fixes, what's the one thing that you would change about the English language?
Single letters like applying to two different sounds, right?
Absolutely.
Like, get rid of that. Let's get that. C, like
C's?
if it's
Kyle,
no, like, just
you're
all
speaking my
the time.
language now.
English?
English.
Yep.
But just the stuff like the rules that just apply to specific words, like let's just get rid of all that. That's dumb. It's hard. It makes it complicated.
What do you think is seen as like the most perfect language out there?
Latin.
Latin. Let's all go back to Latin, everybody.
Yeah.
Esperanto, I think, I speak for everybody here. Okay, that's good. You got some, Janet?
I think maybe like if we're doing like writing and reading, I'm thinking maybe like the mess of the apostrophe with when it ends in S and then when it's plural. Like I think that gets a little bit messy. And it's like, I think it's also both, I think, are technically correct. So I feel like we just need to standardize that. Like what's going on. It's like James with the S, with the apostrophe, and then it's an apostrophe and then an extra S.
That is
I feel like
bad.
that is kind of a mess. I think we also maybe need to work on, I think because I think both are technically correct, but I have this debate like in my house about the, if you do like something and something, like independent clause and independent clause, there are some people who want to still put the comma before the and I'm like, what's up with that? Like, get that out of there. I don't remember. I think that is technically allowed because it is still a separation, so you can put it there. But I'm like, if it's not a list of three, why do we have this comma in front of the end?
Yeah, that's a mess.
Sure.
I appreciate
irony as a concept needs to be cleaned up. Also, that's like probably my biggest gripe.
I could dig it. I like having writers I can still ask these questions to because I was trying to format for a thumbnail that included a quote in it, and the quote, what was it? Do you guys remember? It was something like the quote included them quoting something. Like the quote is, "This guy told me the game was good." And so when you're quoting that...
remember when Valve saw Dota and was like, yoink? And then you have quotes around the word yoink. Yeah.
But then when you put quotes around
with
that...
an exclamation point.
Yeah. So the question... Yeah. So the fact that there was a question, but somebody quoting an exclamation, like that just looks like trash if you're doing it grammatically correct and trying to type it out. Because then, okay, Janet's thinking through this now.
Well, what do you mean? Like, because it... Oh, did you do? It's like the outside quote should have the 2, and the inside quote should only have the 1, and then the punctuation goes inside of the quote.
But it just looks like dog
had
crap.
It right. It just looked like garbage.
Yes.
What is it?
It's just the end of it.
It's just looks bad.
It's just a car crash of different.
Oh yeah, that's horrible.
Right? It's the.
No,
but
that's
it's correct.
really bad.
But it's correct. You got to do it. Yeah. Anyways, that's a mess.
Well, I feel like you also don't have to be correct is the thing because like you need to be correct in certain instances. But I have this gripe with people. I mean, people on the internet who do this to me, I just block them. So I guess I don't really have the gripe with them. But like when you need to have like quote unquote correct grammar, like that's such like a silly concept to use in like everyday life because no one speaks grammatically correct in everyday life. You would sound like a robot. We only write grammatically correct, and we also only do that in certain contexts. Like people who correct like grammar on the internet, I'm like, this is literally like the space to be grammatically incorrect. Like you should still be clear in your communication, but like I'm sorry, I'm not doing MLA when I write my tweets. Like, calm down. Like, yeah. So I think in this case you could have zagged, but yeah, I understand. This is just a mess. Yeah, it looks terrible. Yeah, I'd be upset about this too. But I don't think I would do it any other way. So you're just screwed with this. The yoink.
Dusty Beeman writes in and says, "What's the longest/worst that you've been stuck on something for reviewing a game? Did you get over it yourself or reach out to the developer?"
Gato Roboto was that the game, right? I wasn't stuck, but there was a bug where you could kind of like sequence break and end up in an area you weren't supposed to be yet, and it just like totally derailed my review. And I had to kind of bug the game to like get out of this room in a way. Like it was it's the thing that you run into with early games all the time now is I'm always like, is this a bug or have I not figured it out?
Right.
It's like, that's always the question I run into. And usually the latter is usually the answer is I haven't figured it out. But yeah, I remember that Gato Roboto one was one that I got really stuck on, and I like I said, I kind of broke the game to get out of that spot. And then like a day later, I got an email that was like, "Hey, we found this bug. We issued a patch." And I was like, "Oh, I could have used that yesterday."
Yeah, it seems so stressful. I'm so thankful I didn't review games because I always had somebody else. I could take a picture of the TV and send it to Kyle and be like, "How do I get past this part in Last Guardian? Okay, I'm just going to ask you 6 more times. How do I get past this part in Last Guardian?"
We're getting a lot of inside texts.
Oh, right. The way that game should be played. Taking pictures of your TV and sending it to friends saying, "Am I dumb?" or...
Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance had a bunch of bugs. And there was one section, there was like a boss fight, but it was like, I think there was like a 2-part to it or something. And I got beat up until I was down to like a sliver of health, and then it auto-saved, and that's where it kept reloading me for like the next section of this like boss fight. And I eventually got over that, but then there was something else where like I got stuck in a bush or something like that, and I lost like 6 hours of review time gameplay, and it was just killing me.
There is, Jeff, there's footage when I posted that video of like kind of outtakes from the Game Informer office, or us just kind of like hanging out around the office. I think it was in the extended version of the office tour, something like that. But it was us crowded around your TV, and you were stuck on this puzzle in like this old RPG. And it was like just you were beating your head against the wall. And the funny thing is, I think it was from Zen Studios. Do you remember what the game was called? Is it Operencia? No.
Oh,
it was a Zen Studios RPG.
So.
I forget exactly. Dread Nautical. Anyways, but the developer reached out to me and he's like, "I cannot believe that there's footage of you guys trying to figure out that puzzle because it's at the end of the game and it was way too hard." And the fact that there's now like Game Informer footage preserved of Jeff just being stumped by this damn thing.
That's cool.
Can you try and find the name of that game, Jeff? I'm just going to drive you nuts. What was...
I think it's Operencia.
No, that looked like something different. But let's see. Graham Gilmore writes in and said, "I'm currently playing through and enjoying Nine Souls. The one thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is the bosses typically have multiple health bars. However, I'd be okay with multiple boss phases over one health bar. In your opinion, should multiple health bars for bosses start to be phased out?"
No, they should not be phased out. They should be ended immediately, and we should never think about it again.
Oh, okay.
I hate that so much. That is such... Like, if you're going to do multiple ones, I at least like when they'll have like little squares or something beneath it so you know how many there are going to be.
Yeah.
But to like, especially if you're getting your ass kicked in a boss fight and you die and you have to redo it multiple times. I'm not naming any developers that make super hard games or anything like that. But to finally get through it and then go into some cheap ass cutscene and then it's like, oh, he's back and his health bar is 10 times bigger. Like, that always just kills me. I hate that. I at least want to know, like, the whole point of a health bar is to show you the progress that you're making on this fight. And if you're just going to refill it or redo it or whatever, then it's not telling you anything.
Yeah.
It defeats the point of the health bar, Hanson.
I mean, I guess the advantage is like if it's just one really long health bar, maybe you don't feel like you're making progress if every hit you're doing is just so minute. But like, I still would rather have the information than sort of feel like I'm not doing enough damage.
I just care about having the health bar in general. I guess I do prefer a segmented health bar, but my thing is I can't stand when bosses don't have health bars at all.
Like Monster Hunter.
I give a light pass if it's like a simple enough game where it's like, oh, you can tell it's like a 3-hit boss or something like that. Like it's like a Mario or something. But every other boss, I'm like, I want it. What's going on? What's happening? I don't have any information. I don't have any way to strategize. What is fun about this? I want to know who enjoys it. I get someone not going to be bothered by it, but who's like, oh, I love not knowing. It's exciting.
There are people out there.
Yeah.
Jeff, the name of that game was Operencia of the Stolen Sun. I don't know why you said it wasn't. It's clearly Operencia of the Stolen Sun.
It was Dire Docs.
I think Tears of the Kingdom probably has some of the best like solution for boss fight, meter later in the game that I won't spoil for anybody.
Spoil. Come on. That seems fine.
Ganondorf's health bar at one point just like exits the sort of the UI. It just exits the sort of background of the bar, and it just extends off to the side of the screen, which I love so much. It's so cool.
That's excellent. Bon John Bovey wrote in. This is the type of question I enjoy. They say, this is not a question, but I wanted to direct some attention back to Tekken 8. Namely, its story mode that I just recently finished. Do not sleep on this one, you fools. The whole campaign can be easily beaten in one sitting by a casual fighting game player, and the production wizardry is unbelievable. Spend one night to keep Tekken 8 from dominating the game we all agree is probably good, but we didn't play category at the end of the year. You're right.
I feel like we've covered Tekken 8 a lot here at MinnMax. I mean, I feel like we won't shut up about it.
I feel like we let everybody down.
Here's the thing. Some games don't get mentioned at all. So you're going to take away the one thing it could win? Like, I don't know. Wouldn't be the hill I die on. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate the sentiment, but like, I do not care about fighting games. So like, why would I? Like, I give
Have you ever tried playing a game? Have you ever played like the Mortal Kombat campaigns or something, Janet? They're fun as hell.
No, I don't care
then you can't knock them. Then you can't knock them until you tried them.
No, I didn't. Never said it was bad. It's probably really good. But why would I want to play it? Like, it's
because
not enough
it's
for.
good.
It's but it's only good if you need to like it. Like, why would I like?
I didn't think I would like it, and it got me.
That'll give you, if you say like you might be surprised that you like it, I could buy into that. But play it just because it's good. That's not enough. It's not enough just to be good. Like, you have to be interested. I'm not interested.
I think you would turn around, but no, Tekken 8. I think I'm. It is in my back burner catalog.
It's like, watch this incredible athlete. It's like, I don't care about the sport. It's like, I think you'd still appreciate it. Like, makes you think that?
You wouldn't know until you look at the athlete and then be, by God, breaking is cool after all.
But if you don't understand the like language, it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm just not interested. But like, I get the plea, but like, I'm not interested. So like, I'm not going to be interested.
Of course you're not interested in things that you've never experienced.
I've played fighting games before.
There's plenty.
And I've played campaigns to fighting games before, like Smash and stuff. But it's like, I don't care. Like, I've decided I don't care.
Okay.
And I'm sorry that that's sad for a lot of people, but like, you know.
Kyle,
draw the line somewhere, man.
Yeah.
I'm right there.
I can't be everything.
Too, Janet. I have no interest whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm sorry. I know it's sad,
Hanson, you made me play one Mortal Kombat campaign.
Really?
And it was fine, but I don't think it was that long ago. It was probably at MinnMax. You made me.
Was it Mortal Kombat 11 maybe?
I think it might have been for DLC, and I actually only got through the game, and then I didn't have time to start the DLC.
Oh, for Aftermath.
It was all for naught anyway.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the stories. Like when you say, "Hey, you'll enjoy it," Janet Hanson. When you say that to Janet, you really just mean the story.
Correct.
And it's like just go watch the cutscenes on YouTube.
You can do that.
Also, will I enjoy it, or will it be like fine? You know what I mean? Because like, is it really like a good narrative?
Hey, look, what's important is Lily S. wrote in. They say, hey, better quest goal, everybody. Better quest goal. For me, it's ice climbing. So Lily, a couple months back, I attended the MinnMax community meetup in LA. Thanks for coming out, Lily. And a couple of us were talking about Rise of the Tomb Raider and how it was so cool seeing Lara ice climb. I mentioned I considered ice climbing, but I just don't have the upper body strength. Well, the idea stayed in my head for a while, and I'm now actively training to go ice climbing like Lara Croft. Hell yeah, Lily.
That's cool.
That's awesome. If you can safely send a picture, please do that, Lily. But don't risk your life for it. But that sounds freaking awesome. Let's see. Travis in Fargo says, hey, how does Janet respond to Ben's assertion that he would destroy her in a 100-meter dash race?
Oh, yeah. I saw Kelsey during PAX, and we also talked about this at dinner.
Okay.
I think that if I had to bet, I'm lightly inclined to bet that you would win, but I think there'd be I think it's up for debate because I don't know how. Also, there's so many things at play here, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, you're like tall, which I don't think it factors in as much as people think it does. But you are athletic, like you bike a lot. So I feel like you do have leg strength.
Probably more than I realize, yeah.
One thing that I want to point out, though, that I realized yesterday when I was talking to my brother about this, because I was like, I asked him the same question he asked, like, for his opinion.
Of course.
Is how are you, like, I get that you might win, like, because you might be faster. I'm not that fast. But how are you going to say that you can beat me in a 100-meter race when I visited you, you wouldn't even go for a light jog with me because you said that you had a bad knee. So what's up with that? My camera also froze. But.
Yeah, it wasn't a 100-meter jog. If it was, you want to go for a 100-meter jog with me, I would be 100% on board for it. But if it's, hey, you want to run
you didn't
for like...
suggest it.
You know what? I should suggest that. You're right. That's a good route for exercise.
Oh, is there a 100-meter? I need to visualize that.
A football field.
A football field?
Yeah.
It's 100 yards.
I'm still going Janet.
What's the difference? Aren't they the same thing?
There's
There's no difference between a meter and a yard?
Is there not? They're both 3 feet, aren't they?
Are they the same? Why would
They're
we have
close,
different names?
not the same.
Not
No,
the same.
no.
A
A
1
yard
meter-
is 1.09, my friend.
Okay. Minutia man.
And that adds up.
All right.
That adds up to a whole extra 0.9 yards over
I
or
get
9 yards?
the whole 9
Extra
yards.
9 yards in 100?
No one can do that math, Jeff, for the last time. Ben,
Is this all
Also, we
billing for
could
foot
solve
race?
this.
Yeah, I was about
we
to
could
say.
solve this
In Asheville.
Which again,
Asheville
it's
Plus.
once again repeating Kind of Funny's content because they also did a race between like
did
the
they?
two of them.
I don't care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm down.
In-
Let
in-
me know. I'll bring my running shoes. I haven't ran in a long time, so it'll be like pretty fair game.
No, we need to go barefoot
So-
to keep it nice, clean, and even.
Look, the reality is one person's down to do the race, and then one person's just talking.
Hey, I'll do
That's
your
all I
race.
gotta say.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'll race
he's
you at Asheville.
making up. No.
Asheville, North Carolina. Everybody coming out. We'll do that race at the brewery when the community is watching.
Doing it at the brewery? No, I don't. I want to be able to drink, but I'll do it if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Measure us.
Yeah, we don't have to guess. We can have the answer.
Yep.
Yeah,
Through
find
the
a
beauty
local
of
like high school football
science.
field.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Let's just crash a high school and go race. That sounds fun.
But you have to run another 9 yards past.
Jeff, I'm not
Is it
going to pay
football
attention to your
field?
Come on.
stupid math.
Is it longer than a football field? Also, I feel like a
It's-
football field's really long. So I do feel like when I realized how long 100 meters was, I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I could get
The
you. I think
endurance.
I think you'll beat me at first, but I think you'll gas
10
out.
yards,
I'm gonna
maybe
gas
Hanson,
out?
but
You never seen me gas out. Ben and Den writes in and they say, I'm on staycation. Woo! I'm saving up coins so the vacations I've taken this year have both been staycations and I'm struggling to find ways to make it feel special. Any tips for how to get the rest, luxury, or adventure a vacation offers, but from the comfort of my own home?
Not cooking. Like
Factor
avoiding
meals.
chores that you have to do. Like, yeah, sure, another plug. But like avoiding what makes stuff regular. So like, maybe having a plan for stuff that's fun that you've been wanting to do. Like, I've been wanting to catch up on this TV show or these movies or play this game. But like a way to make it special and enjoyable where you're either doing stuff you don't normally do or you're doing like all of your favorite things. But I definitely think removing like the everyday of being at home is like a key factor of like a good staycation.
Yeah, I think also, not sleeping in. Sleep in a little. Let's not get
What?
wild. You gotta. It's
Okay.
easy to sleep through an entire staycation, but you want to be able to get stuff done on your vacation. You want to have like a goal of like, this is the staycation where I learned a little bit of Spanish, or this is the staycation where I learned to go ice climbing. You got to have something tangible instead of looking back on the rearview mirror, be like, how was that? It's like, that's fine. It's just, you don't want it to be a blur, is my point.
Now I'm even more confident in the race because I'm like, I don't think this Ben guy knows what he's talking about. Get stuff done on a vacation.
Something,
No.
a little theme, a theme.
If you want to train for the 100-meter dash against me, if that brings you joy, I guess. But like, yeah, no.
No, because my knee's
Ben's in
gonna
the
blow out.
pocket of big waking up early or something. 'Cause he's
Yes.
always like demanding everybody wake up early
Yeah.
all the time.
Just sleeping in.
he's got stock and Folgers.
Sleep is so good.
Yeah, of course. You want to get like 7 or 8 hours. I'm just saying, if it's one of those staycations where you're sleeping and feeling gross after like 10 hours in bed, it's going to suck.
Unless you don't feel gross after sleeping for 10 hours. Maybe you feel nice. and
Also,
refreshed.
maybe Ben needs to sleep 10 hours because he's always waking up so early that he's like, if I sleep in, the whole thing goes south.
Yeah, exactly. MinnMax is collapsing.
You truly are a dad now, though.
You made it.
Thank you so much. I've been waiting for that badge of approval. Cody Yu writes in and says, hey, it's been 1 year since the release of Starfield. Congratulations, Starfield. We all know and love the memorable themes of Elder Scrolls and Fallout. but can any of you recite the theme from Starfield off the top of your head 1 year later?
No, but I.
Oh, wait, that is that?
I don't know.
I thought I had one.
I feel like
the one that
It's
comes
I
to
thought
really
the theme
distinct
is-
Star Trek is what it is, right? I remember it being good.
It's the one I have in my head is dun 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 dun. And I was like, wait, I think that's Outer Worlds. I think I'm forgetting the exact thing. Okay, here's. I remember it being good.
The way that Starfield has lingered with me is I truly, Janet, all the time think about you talking about it, and you said, I guess it's something you could do.
Yeah.
And I just think about it's like that is like the most just like straight to the point, cutting, but not like overtly negative like criticism. I feel like that perfectly sums up that game. It's like it was somewhat interesting, but it's just like it just ultimately became like it's something you could do.
Yeah.
Just think
Thank
about that
you.
all the time.
I thought you were going to say my Janthony Bourdain thing, because that's what I think about all the time.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, let me be Janthony Bourdain.
And then you and Jan from Giant Bomb both chose the same thing. It's still
The same
uncanny.
name, the same class. Yeah.
It's not
Janthony
possible.
Bourdain. And they were also upset. They're like, yeah, like I want to be the Space Baker. I'm like, exactly. Like,
Yep.
what was the point? What was it all for?
Okay, here's my pop quiz.
Don't have
Jeff,
an
do you have a Starfield take on the main theme? Because it's good.
Is it?
No.
But it is. Here's
I don't
my
think your
que-
theme is. I don't think your theme is good if people can't remember it.
Here's my point. Hot shot. We all agree Elder Scrolls great theme, right? Iconic.
Yeah.
I don't know it.
Someone sing it right now. I'm saying it's tough to recall game themes no matter what.
It is.
No, I was like, it's
I don't know the
blending with
theme.
Game of Thrones in my head.
So it's like I can do the so I'll do the Dovahkiin part. So it's like yo. Remember in the background for Skyrim's theme? And then it comes in.
That's ESPN.
Yeah.
Dovahkiin. Okay, and then Fallout.
I don't want to save the world.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go.
There you go.
All right, here's Starfield.
I mean, that's what I said, you know?
All right.
I remember that now. I remember that now.
It's the problem I have with like a lot of like modern sort of orchestrated video game music. It's like it's really good in the moment, but it doesn't have a melody that stands out in a
Yeah.
really
Well, this one at least is
way.
going for it. I hear you, but like dun 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 dun. Like
Well,
if it's in a trailer, it would pop. I still think it's
Well,
great.
it's
good.
going
It's
for
good,
it, and
yeah.
it failed, I think. Like,
No.
I think if you're not memorable...
We failed it.
you-
No, we failed it because we weren't able to say the classic themes like, you know, Fallout and Elder Scrolls. We're not able to recall those. It's our music memory that failed, not the composer of
I
the
don't think
Starfield main
so.
theme.
Like, and I mean, it's dramatic to say the composer failed. It's a little dramatic, but I think you do need a memorable theme for your
they
main
have it.
theme.
They have it. It's on
Horizon,
us.
Horizon has that problem too. I love Horizon, but what's the music? I don't know, some drums?
It has a main theme. Horizon
It kinda does,
absolutely.
yeah. But it does, yeah. But you don't really remember it, so it's like to me, your job is to be memorable if you're the main theme, and if I can't remember you, I don't think you did your job well.
Okay, well, in that case,
That's every piece of
99%.
symphony music that wasn't written by John Williams, though. Is that the
Yeah,
answer?
Janet, I mean, this point is sing the Indiana Jones theme.
Bold
guess-
of you to think I watched Indiana Jones.
Okay, well, I guess John Williams failed everybody because the Indiana Jones theme isn't
I didn't
memorable.
watch it.
Star Wars. Star Wars.
I'm blinking for
Yeah, I
some
guess
reason,
John
but I
Williams
do
should be
know
taken
it.
on the street and attacked. I'm just saying,
I mean,
it's
if you
on
wanna
us.
if you wanna pretend like you think that's a good song, you can. But there's no way you think that's.
I think that is a
banger
solid,
theme.
memorable, iconic theme for Starfield. Absolutely. Hey,
No
I
way.
think it was a good song, but if you took 10 gamers and said hum the Starfield song, it's not just us who's failing that
Yeah.
challenge.
yeah, I think that if you take 10 gamers and say hum anything except for Mario or Zelda, they'd fail that challenge, is my point.
Hot take Mario and Zelda got the only. I mean, I guess Celeste has some pretty
Hum
memorable
it. Hum
songs.
It. Hum it.
I like
I
the
don't
like
know.
yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
my
prove
but
it.
it's like
Hum it.
It's like a little
Hum it.
tough because I
Hum
just
it,
don't
bro.
like. I know there's like Scattered and Lost, but I don't remember. Like it's just like I'm just kind of blanking right now. But I don't know. I think those are like memorable tunes.
Not to your brain, it isn't. Christian Jimenez
I
writes
guess,
in
sure.
and
Okay,
says,
so Ben, everything is good then, because we don't remember anything.
I'm just saying it's on us, not the composers. There can be great themes, but because we can't recall them immediately, doesn't mean they're not great themes. That's my point.
Look, all right, you know what? I'm going to train for this race now. All right.
Damn it. I was hoping she wouldn't.
Hum it, Ben, hum it.
Yeah, hum it.
Christian Jimenez writes in, said, I had an inkling to review my purchases on my consoles this weekend and noticed some interesting differences between them all. You all want to get geeky? I think this is fun. So
Sure.
I didn't know this. So Sony, on console, the purchase history was the best. I was able to review a record of all of my purchases going back to 2006. Clean, simple, date, title, price paid. On their website, it was not the best. Transaction history was limited to 1/3 of the page. It was kind of like a shopping cart sidebar. Checking the same period didn't work. It only load so many before just not loading anything at all. But on the console, apparently, you can go back to like 2006, which I think is really cool. Microsoft, no purchase history on console whatsoever. But on their website, it was a much better page. It loaded all of my purchases from 2007 without any issues and detailed product notes. So Microsoft better at the browser experience. Nintendo, no purchase history on console also, but then on the website, it was also bad. We'll only give you about a 2-year list from the current date. So there you go. Caffeine Dad, oh no, why are we wading into more music territory? Caffeine Dad says, hey y'all, what's the best Disney song? I've been playing a ton of Disney songs from our 1-month-old daughter, and my favorite is Zero to Hero from Hercules, but I think the best song in Disney's history, Caffeine Dead says, is I Want to Be Like You.
Oh,
So cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, Man's Red
actually,
Fire.
My family was talking about this a lot, building up to going to a recent Disney trip because we were watching like Disney movies and I think my personal favorite is One Jump.
I'm
From
kind
too.
of, wait,
I was
I was
gonna
going to
name
say
that
One
too.
Jump. And of course,
Jeffem's
Jeffem,
like one jump's trash.
yeah, Jeffem, hum
What-
it, hum it,
Gotta
hum
keep
One Jump. Hum it. No, it's just supposed to be Jeffem. It's supposed to be Jeffem. It was a Jeffem quiz.
I steal only what I can afford.
It is. It's everything.
That's everything.
It's a
That's my
fun
favorite
song.
movie, though, of the Disney movies.
Janet,
So
me
that's probably why.
too. What the hell?
Oh my God. Why are we fighting?
Why
We're
would
more
we
alike
ever
than we are-
fight?
Then
It
we
is
are
true.
different.
You guys
Let's
should
just
be-
watch the Aladdin
I think
remake
the real
together.
the real race is just watching Aladdin.
Yeah, this is like the best Disney song. It's one of those things of like, well, I go for One Jump because it's such a fun one to do at karaoke.
Yeah.
But then Nature on B, Backstage Pass has like Circle of Life. I'm like, well, I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
argue against Circle of
Or
Life.
honestly, the Tarzan stuff from Phil Collins is really incredible.
Okay, where the monkey plays the drums.
No, the again, I don't remember
I
anything
mean, there's
now
just
that
Phil,
I'm
they're
being
just
asked.
good
But
Phil
like
Collins songs
Yeah.
at that point, right? Yeah.
I think Circle of Life probably is the like correct answer. I also really like A Whole New World as well.
Yeah. Have you ever seen or watched play for Little Shop of Horrors, Janet? It's excellent. It's the same songwriting team that did Little Mermaid.
We went to the local. We as a family we went and saw it.
Wait, at the
and
Guthrie?
Yeah,
I
and
just was
my
there a couple
daughter's
weeks ago.
obsessed with "I'll Be a Dentist." Like that's her like favorite song
I'll
right
be
now.
a dentist. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, funny. Yeah, I saw that same play, and it's like, oh, it's fun just to see like an elaborate puppet show of the plant. But there's so many things.
yeah,
like
that's
I'd seen
cool.
the
That's
movie
good.
a ton, but I'd never seen the stage thing. So like, oh, there's so many songs I'd never heard before. But what's notable, it's like, yeah, same songwriting team, Janet, but they have a song in there that's kind of the I Want song, and it's Somewhere That's Green, and it is just the early version of Part of Your World. Like if you listen to Somewhere That's Green, it's bizarre because like the same team just doing like basically the same structure of song, and it's just bizarre that if you're a big Little Mermaid fan, you should check out the soundtrack to Little Shop of Horrors because first of all it rules, and also it's just like, oh, there's so many things. Like the villain has a song. It's like, oh, this has shades outside of I'm a Dentist, but like this has shades too of Poor Unfortunate Souls, and it's just so fun to see like kind of the connections throughout their songwriting history.
Evolution.
The evolution in there, I suppose.
I had a dentist appointment recently, and because that song was so in my mind, I asked him what he thought of it,
Yeah.
and he said he liked it. He said he'd never heard it until he was in dental school.
And then he really ground your teeth.
Yeah, I know. Does he get
Then he
that
took
all
a
the
big hit
time?
of something.
Yeah, that's good. Also, the ending of that play, Kyle, I'd never seen. It freaking rules. The ending of the movie is fine.
It's great.
Yeah.
Go see it at the Guthrie. I don't know if it's still there.
I
was
saw it
blown
on the
away by
last
that
day. It's
production.
quite done.
Yeah.
But Jeff, at the end of the play version of Little Shop of Horrors, the plant just takes over the world and like everyone dies. And it is the best way to end a play.
Which they shot a version of it for the movie.
Right.
And it was insane. It was like a Godzilla style ending. That was the plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then they scrapped it.
Yeah. So that's it. Best Disney song. There we go.
Did we get an answer from Jeff?
Well, he's gonna say Zippity Doodad. We can't have him say that
Be
on
our
air.
guest. Probably some garbage.
No, I was honestly
You
going
do
to
kind
say
of look like a be our guest kind of guy. I don't know.
You do look like Lumiere.
I really like Be Our Guest. That was a joke, to be clear.
Yeah, I was honestly going to say anything from Moana or Encanto because I think they're all great
Yeah.
songs. But then you guys brought up just a ton of classics. I think Disney just knows how to make good musical numbers for kids.
Up
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
the movie Wish. For some,
Yo, I heard Wish was trash. It's like
I
it's
watched
crazy.
it.
Like the
it's not good.
no, that's what I heard. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
What is the Moana song, like her I Want song, where she's looking out on the ocean?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what is it?
Again, whenever you
How
ask
far
me,
I'll
I
go.
forget. Yeah.
Yeah, that one made me cry in the
How
theaters.
Far I'll
Like,
Go,
It's so
right?
good.
How Far
Yes,
I'll Go.
it's amazing.
I was listening to
Oh,
that a lot. Yeah.
good.
I'm finally, now that my brain's kind of loading in, all the songs are coming back in.
Yeah.
So,
Freaking
okay.
Grandma Stingray comes back. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good movie.
All right. What do y'all like for a question of the week? I like Disney
I like
songs.
Disney songs.
I like them asking who's going to win in that race, but they also asked that last week. So I suppose
You know,
I
the
like,
Disney songs really united us, though.
that is
again.
true.
It did,
That
yeah.
is true. After
turning-
Starfield
After being
tore us
torn apart
apart.
from Starfield's composition. I'm sure they're a good composer, but it's like, I don't know. What did it do for me? Not a lot.
There we go. Caffeine Dad, congratulations. You just won the Sonic Colors vinyl. Speaking of soundtracks, thanks to I'm 8-Bit. Now it's time for something that we prefer to call Get a Load of This. God, Kyle, now I want to go listen to Skid Row from Little Shop of Horrors again. That song is so
Great
freaking
soundtrack,
good.
yeah.
Hey, get a load of this, everybody. There's a podcast I really enjoy called Acquired. I might have mentioned it before, but it's just like the history of big tech companies and kind of running through all that. And they're really long episodes, but there's an episode that we listened to recently on a drive. And just one of those things that it's like, yeah, it's always in the background, but to really think about it for a couple hours really changes your perspective. And it was all just about Oprah and Harpo Studios, like her production house, and just Oprah, of course, staple in American life. But if you stop and think about like, wait, how wildly ambitious has Oprah been her entire life? And like super rough, tragic, brutal childhood, and then blossoming into one of the most successful people on earth, like the first Black woman to own her own production studio, like one of the richest women on earth, and unmarried, like everybody else has like a partner relationship, right? But she has just been on this conquering spree and actually walking through just a business, how incredible that's been. It's been fascinating. They talk about like the origins of like, you know, Oprah's book club, and they were able to do the math because like every episode of the Oprah Winfrey show, like in the 80s and 90s, it would get an audience of like 30 million, like just crazy. I think that it was between 10 and 30 million, I think, for the average audience. But they talked about how when she would choose to highlight a product on the Oprah Winfrey show, they were able to do the math on it, and it would multiply the success of that product by 1 million. Compared to like all of its competition. Like, and the framing of this podcast was also talking about like, is she kind of the first influencer? Because she would just go on and highlight a product and it would explode. And then her being able to pivot that and being like, nope, I want to own this entire production, not just be hired talent. So it's a fascinating episode. It talks about how she had a half sister who found her in like 2009 or something, like really late, where the sister was like, I guess I should find out who my birth parents are. I was given away for adoption. I don't know. And then she found out that it was Oprah, but she didn't want the press to know because she didn't want to go to the press. So like, can you imagine that? Like, I know I'm Oprah's half sister. How do I get in contact with her without going to the press? And she eventually did. And it's a fun story there. But anyways, that's it. Acquired is the name of that podcast. It's very good.
Get a load of this. This is actually a fun follow-up on an old one I had where I talked about Sky Guy, the Chicago Sky's mascot that everyone hated.
Oh,
'cause
sure.
He's just like a random guy. And they're like, why is this random man here? And they're like, lore-wise, he loves his sister's basketball career. And it's like, this is kind of weird. They changed the mascot, which I was like also shocked by. They still went with something that I feel like it doesn't really make sense with the name, like the Chicago Sky. But they have like this little lion, Sky the Lioness. And the PR release, it's like, to honor the growth of the game and reflect loyal Sky fan feedback, Sky will usher in a new era with the Chicago Sky, and then they debut this mascot. Which, yeah, you know, I'd love to have been in those conversations of everyone being like, hey, everyone's talking about how much they hate this other guy. Like we need something fun for the kids and stuff. But yeah, it's just interesting to see that change. So yeah.
Links below for all this fun stuff.
Get a load of this. Another sports one for you guys.
What?
Yeah. Last week, catcher Danny Jansen became the first Major League Baseball player to play for 2 different teams in the same game.
What? What are you talking about?
Yeah, apparently he was a Boston Red Sox player, but then the game got postponed because of rain, and apparently it got postponed for like 2 months. And during that time, he got traded to the Blue Jays, and then finished. And then when the game came back, he finished as the catcher for the Blue Jays. He finished. He became the catcher in the same inning that he was up at bat during for the first game.
Baseball is fun.
And apparently he ended up losing the game and winning, I guess, simultaneously, but he was on the losing team by the time it ended.
That's
so
bizarre.
he made history for it. So
if he
That's
really,
so cool.
if he
for
wanted
him.
to really impress us, he would have pitched to himself. But this is I guess, fine too. Hey, get a lot of this from the community. There's a Discord channel where people share fun facts all the time. I found this interesting. Dextero in the community shared this, that apparently Capri Sun are releasing a bottled version of their juice for adults. And it's one of those things of like, I've never been satiated by a Capri Sun in my life. But the idea of like, yeah, why haven't there just been bigger containers of that? And so now finally they're releasing an adequate size of Capri Sun for everybody.
It's so nice of them.
It's so nice.
nice.
Hey, get a load of this. I'll combine my get a load of this into my plug. I started a new part-time job. I'm working with Thorium on Undermine, the Undermine folks on Undermine 2. They're hard at work on Undermine 2. And I'm going to be helping them with, social media and PR and things like that.
Woo!
Which is exciting because I really love Undermine. I think I've made that clear on this podcast many
It's a
times.
very good game.
But now we know
it
it was a long burn, a long call of just waiting for your time, years down the road for you to finally get a job there.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. You could reach out to a studio that you like their last work and
Yeah, which is what I did. I once the Game Informer stuff happened, I reached out to them and I was like, "Hey, I love this game. I'd love to work on it. Give me a job, please."
yeah, awesome.
And then there were a couple more conversations, and they obliged. But yeah, it won't change anything here at MinnMax, really, because it's a part-time gig. So I'll still be maybe even doing extra here at MinnMax in the coming months and stuff. But
Cool.
yeah, I'm excited for that.
Awesome, congrats. And if people want to follow your work over there,
I mean, there's the Undermine Discord, and of course, Wishlist the game, and then there's some various social media accounts, Undermine _game, all that stuff.
sweet, love it. Hey, that is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show, everybody. Janet, do you have something you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I started another podcast because I didn't have enough. But I'm doing the Gang Cast, the Games and Not Games podcast with my fiance Isaiah. The show format is half games, half not games. So the games are what we're playing, kind of board games. Sometimes we play a game on there, like a guessing game kind of thing. And then the other half is like slice of life stuff, maybe like what we're reading, what we're getting into, how we made the studio space that you see if you're watching the YouTube video version, stuff like that. So been really fun. It's nice to have something that also isn't just games, because that's pretty much all the content I've been doing in my life is just games content. But yeah, check that out if you're interested. It's on all podcast platforms. There's socials. I'm not going to read all the socials. You can find it's Games and Not is the Twitter, and I think Games and Not Games is everything else.
Sweet, awesome, congrats. Let's see. Here at MinnMax, we have, don't forget, the Asheville Community Meetup happening on Saturday, October 5th. We're about a month away, everybody. So Saturday, October 5th, we're going to be at the Zillakoa Brewery. You can check out our Patreon for more details, but you don't need to be a Patreon supporter to go to this community meetup. You can bring some friends. We're all just going to be hanging around outside in this outdoor brewery space, talking about games. So don't be shy. Come on out. No promises of special guests, but I know of at least one special guest that's going to be swinging by. It's like, oh, that's cool that this person's going to come. So come by. There's going to be a bunch of us out there. So if you're in Asheville, North Carolina area, come on down to the Zillakoa Brewery. We have details on the Patreon for more details, but that's October 5th. Also, this is a slight asterisk, but if you're in the Portland area, stay tuned. we are most likely going to have a meetup at the end of the month, but I need to lock down exact details on that. But this is separate from the Asheville thing. And reminder, we have the deepest dive for Mirror's Edge happening right now. Alex Van Aken's hosting that one, but Leo and Jacob and Charles Hart are going to be on it as well. So the stopping point is after the mission called Rope Burn, and we're collecting your comments on Friday, the 6th of September here on Patreon. So if you want to join that discussion, submit your thoughts on Mirror's Edge for them to read during that discussion, you can support us at any tier on Patreon or the $5 tier. You unlock the podcast version of that 2-part Game Club discussion. You can help support that, and at the same time, you're helping to support Alex Van Aken and Charles Hart and other former Game Informer folks during this time when they're landing new jobs, like Kyle here. Also, Bonus Pod, the Patreon exclusive podcast. It more than doubles the amount of MinnMax content you get every week if you support us with that $5 tier. Not in any small part due to Bonus Pod popping up each and every week, hosted by Haley McLean. But Marcus Stewart, formerly of Game Informer, was on this week's episode talking about more stuff he played at Gamescom. There's a lot of Life is Strange talk in that, Janet, which I know you'll be a fan of. But also Little Earth 3 and a ton more that they talk about that. It's a fun podcast. It warms my heart to see the comments in the Discord sincerely pop up that are like, guys, I think Bonus Pod might be better than the main MinnMax show. And some weeks I agree. So don't overlook Bonus Pod. Unlock it at the $5 tier and more than double the amount of podcast content from MinnMax each and every week. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, listening, sharing. MinnMax, tune into Trivia Tower this Monday. Please compete. It'll be a fun time with Alana Pierce. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. See you next time. Be good. Have fun. Let's go.